Welcome to the Passengers United Open House in honor of Transit Equity Day.
Hi, everyone. It's
Please
so
stand
good
by.
to see
We will
you.
begin in 5 minutes.
You have to be quiet.
Is it this one too? So, you're here for a perfect day.
You have to keep your microphone. Joy is here.
I am born ready.
Leave your microphones, please. They probably tell everyone pretty. Right here.
Hey, Carl.
Hi.
Great to see you.
We have just been from store leadership to the leadership.
I'm so ready.
From store leadership to the store leadership office, please.
You need to keep your. I'm gonna keep my camera off.
Yes. Yes. Valley.
Wait a minute.
Gregory, yes. Next.
Yeah, we got the bird here. Good to meet you.
Looks like fun.
Welcome to the Passengers United Open House in honor of Transit Equity Day. Please stand by. We will begin in approximately 4 minutes.
Oh, Carl, how do you like the video I sent to you? Pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, which video was that?
Like about the D train I sent to you, going from Barclay Center to my home.
No, I didn't review that yet.
What?
I don't think I
So it's so well. I'm here now, but.
on Facebook.
Come on together. Jump here. Join in. Mirror on the wall. Mirror on the wall. Mirror. Who's the mom? How are ya? Good. That's right. Yes. We're coming. So go ahead. He's coming. Both of you. So, hey, Carl?
Yeah.
Sorry about interrupt you. So, I sent you with a video about the D train about at Barclay Center at my home, and then I sent it to you around earlier this week.
Yeah, did you send it? How did you send an email?
No, the video I sent it to you about earlier this week.
It's on the group page of Passengers United.
Welcome to the
Yeah,
Passengers United
It's on
Open
the group
House
page.
in honor of Transit Equity
I
Day.
know. So,
If you are watching on the YouTube live stream, you may click the link in the description to join the Zoom
I'm
meeting.
going to eat dinner now. Just hang
Please
tight
stand
for a
by.
minute.
We will begin in approximately 3 minutes.
But I'll be back in a flash.
The video sent to my email.
Man, give about 2 minutes to be fixed. You know.
Yeah, right. No, I don't know what knows.
Welcome to the Passengers United Open House in honor of Transit Equity Day. If you are watching on the YouTube live stream, you may click the link in the description to join the Zoom meeting. Please stand by. We will begin in approximately 2 minutes.
Cassie, what happened to you today for Ride to Ride?
I am hearing a lot of background noise. Can people keep their microphones closed, please?
Welcome to the Passengers United Open House in honor of Transit Equity Day. If you are watching on the YouTube live stream, you may click the link in the description to join the Zoom meeting. Please stand by. We will begin shortly. Welcome to the Passengers United Open House in honor of Transit Equity Day. If you are watching on the YouTube live stream, you may click the link in the description to join the Zoom meeting. Please stand by. We will begin shortly.
All right, I think we're ready to begin. In case you're on the YouTube live stream and you do want to join the Zoom meeting, the link is right in the description. So let's get started. All right. Good evening, everyone. Let me get my camera on. There we go. Good evening. I'm sorry for the delay. In case you don't know me, I am Jack Nierenberg. I'm the Vice President of Passengers United. So, and welcome to our second ever town hall, this time in honor of Transit Equity Day, which is today, in case you didn't know. So, before we get into everything, why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves. So, we're going to go around the virtual room, and if you can say your name, your borough or your county that you're in, and what your primary mode of transport is. So I'm going to go first. I'm Jack. I live in Manhattan, but I'm currently out in Suffolk County, and my primary transport is either the subways or the local buses. All right, who wants to go next? Anyone just want to jump in?
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Cassie Rafushi. I reside in Brooklyn, and my mode of transportation is mostly the subway.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, my name is Carl Pereira, and right now I'm in New Hyde Park on the Nassau side, Nassau County. My primary mode of transportation right now is a car, but I sometimes take the subways, and when I was in Queens, I took a lot of buses. And I've been involved with transit advocacy since about 1978, and been trying to improve the bus service in Brooklyn and Queens, and also involved with the Queens Link, trying to get the Rockaway line reactivated. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
My name is Alan Rosen. I primarily use my car and occasionally the bus and subway.
My name is Rona. I am primarily in Manhattan and sometimes all the way out east. And when I'm out east, I drive, but I primarily am a subway and bus rider and a fan of what Passengers United does.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I just have to apologize. I'm going to be in and out, but I'll be in as much as I can.
Oh yeah, no problem.
My name is Gregory
David
Hamadas.
Kupferberg.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. My name is David Kupferberg. I'm the Vice President of Bus Advocacy in New York City for Passengers United. My mode of transportation is mostly the subways and buses.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Maria Grieco, and I'm in Jackson Heights, Queens, and my mode of transportation is Accessoride, God help me.
My name is Gregory Hamadas. I live in Brooklyn. My mode of transportation primarily is public transportation, all kinds, whatever fits.
Okay, what else do I want to do?
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else want to go? And feel free to turn on your camera if you feel comfortable.
Hey everyone, can everyone see me?
Yes, Charlton, we can see you.
All right, good evening everyone. It's great to have all of you here. I want to thank Jack for setting this up, and we try to advertise this and get all of you to come out. We're so happy that all of you could make it. And this is a historic day in the United States of America for public transportation. So yeah, we're excited to, have this presentation tonight, and I'll just take it back to Jack.
All right, thank you very much.
My name is Joy G. I'm from Long Island. I have a car. I love bus and subway.
Thank you. Are we missing anyone? If anyone else wants to go?
Jack, Marisol wrote in the chat that she's from Suffolk County, Long Island, and her modes of transportation is paratransit, car, and the other one, train.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, if I'm not forgetting anyone, even if we do, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we will definitely mention you. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So why don't we get started? So in case you didn't know, this today is Transit Equity Day, and in case you're not familiar with what Transit Equity Day is, it's basically Rosa Parks' birthday. Is the commemoration of Rosa Parks. I'm assuming we're all familiar with her story, and since I think fairly recently, it's been celebrated across the country. As just a reminder that transit rights are civil rights, and that's something that we're probably going to be going back to repeatedly today. So just because we have civil rights nowadays does not mean there are many issues that are still going on, and we're going to be addressing several of those, and here are just some of them, but these are the major ones that are going on right now. In case you haven't heard what's been going on, we'll first be addressing what these issues are, how they affect everyday transit riders, especially those who really rely on public transportation to get around. And those include like the bus network redesigns that have been going on. We already had those in the Bronx. We're seeing them right now, and Staten Island as well, but we're seeing them now in Brooklyn and Queens. We're also going to be addressing the cleanliness of trains and buses, and the disparity within that, as well as just service and infrastructure in general. And we're going to be discussing a lot of what's going on with the Long Island Railroad as well, and then finally congestion pricing. So I'm glad that we have David Kupferberg, our new Vice President of Bus Advocacy. And if you want to discuss some of what's been going on with the bus network redesigns, although, I mean, we do have a video if you want to, Charlton, should we go with that? We do have a short video on the bus network redesigns.
Yes, go with that, please. Thank you.
Brooklyn meeting. So
yes.
Yeah, so in case you haven't seen what's been going on with the Brooklyn bus network redesigns, this is pretty much what's been going on. And we are going to pull it up right now. And once again, we did play this at our first Brooklyn bus network redesign meeting on January 5th. And that was actually the very first meeting of its kind that was held. Here we go. Let's get this up. So in case you haven't heard, this is pretty much what's been going on with the Brooklyn bus redesigns, or all of the bus redesigns in general over the city.
The MTA has been redesigning bus routes in every borough to be streamlined, more reliable, and provide better service.
Faster travel, more reliable travel, better connections, ease of use. Those are the things that our customers care about the most.
We made sure to look at bus stops that were close to other bus stops and had the lowest ridership. So we were inconveniencing customers as little as possible and the fewest number of customers.
New Yorkers have the slowest buses in the country. The MTA offers an unprecedented opportunity to improve bus service.
Just the sight of the bus usually means you're on your way.
Oh, it hasn't come by.
Now imagine you're waiting and the bus never comes, or when it does, it skips the stop.
Bus. Right now. Where's the bus? People who live in Mount Haven or on Willis Avenue that have to catch this bus, they walk down 143rd Street to get the bus here. Okay? MTA now wants us to walk 6 blocks to 149th Street to get on the bus. These are really long blocks.
What's happening is we're inconveniencing a population in the community that really relies on this bus. The accessibility wasn't part of the plan. We have a lot of seniors in our community that if they were included in this plan and they were engaged in the plan, they would have known that this wasn't the bus stop to take away.
This bus stop is still not been restored by the MTA. We're trying to get this bus stop reinstated. So
can you see seniors with walkers and wheelchairs or anybody standing there waiting for a bus?
But now the bus is back.
That goes to show how when we work together, we get things done. We got our bus stop back.
It also should be a lesson to any city agency or any organization that wants to do something in our community or make any changes to come and talk to the people directly.
The next redesign is in Queens.
Look at the map. It's not there anymore.
They are planning to take away our Q41 bus and curtail our Q11 bus and not replace them with anything.
These are double fare zones. These are communities that are outliers. I know that I'm affected in College Point where I live. I'm also affected where I go to work in Jamaica.
How are they going to get to school? How are the elderly going to get to work or get to the programs that they so desperately need?
senior citizens and people with disabilities should not lose their bus stops. That's our primary concern.
They're proposing eliminating Newport Avenue service in Rockaway over the last 4 years. They proposed it 3 different times. And each time the community said, we don't want it, and they're still proposing it.
We would have to transfer several times, pay more fares, and it would just double the trip.
We need more buses, not less buses, and we need to be able to have access.
Each and every one of us need to make our voices heard.
All right, so that should just give like a brief overview of what's been going on with the bus network redesigns, and to explain what exactly is going on in the equity front, I'm going to leave that to Alan Rosen, who is the
I did want to say something, Jack, if I can jump in.
Oh, yeah.
So Clarissa in the South Bronx, I am so proud of her. She's a role model and a leader, and I just want to clarify something. She did a lot of the groundwork in the Patterson houses to get that bus stop changed. And what happened was when she had that rally and press conference, then we came in a week later, and then we were working with we were helping them, and we had posters and signs. Yuki Endo came up there as well. I went up to the Bronx 2 separate times and did 2 separate videos. So, it took us going to the MT board meeting, and then we had to talk to the people at New York City Transit, and finally, I think 3 or 4 weeks later, they restored the bus stop back. But there's still a huge gap in service. So I need everyone to be mindful that what's going on in some of these bus redesigns is horrible. And Alan has a petition, which I think Jack was alluding to. So Jack, take it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlton. Yes, we are going to be putting the link to the petition in the chat for your convenience. But yeah, to help discuss the implications of the redesigns on the equity front, I'm going to give that to Alan Rosen, who is the former director of New York City Transit Bus Planning, as well as our new Vice President of Bus Advocacy, David Kupperberg.
Jack, I'm not sure what you want me to say. I'll just say a few new things. At the board meeting, I had a lengthy discussion with the Deputy Director of Government Affairs for the MTA. And he assured me, he said, one of the things we've heard over and over again is that people do not want their bus stops removed. And I don't know if this is true or not. I hope maybe somebody can confirm it. He told me that 40% of the bus stops in the Bronx that were removed have been reinstated. So I'm trying to get some sort of confirmation on that. If anybody's familiar with the Bronx and they can confirm that he's telling the truth, that would be much appreciated. I really didn't prepare anything else to say right now. I just want to say there's anybody from Southern Brooklyn, there's going to be a meeting in Coney Island, not sponsored by the MTA, but sponsored by, I forget the name of the group in Coney Island. It's going to be at the Y on Coney Island Avenue near the boardwalk. The venue holds 100 people, and they're going to post a link of, I think it's going to be, you have to sign up on Eventbrite, but the link hasn't been posted yet. So save the date, Sunday, February 19th. And I'll speak later. I don't really have anything else to say right now.
Jack, thank you, Alan. Jack, do we have that picture that I sent you of Riders Alliance board member telling people not to fill out Alan's petition? Because I want everyone to see this. People need to see this. So basically, a tweet was put out telling people that the information that Alan was putting out in his petition was not true and that he didn't have his facts correct.
And that it was fear mongering too.
Fear mongering. And I think people need to see that on the stream because there's no respect for local ground community advocates. And this is why we need organizations like Passengers United, that's volunteer driven, people led, and no corporate money. Because once you start getting corporate money in there, you get all these lawyers, all these bureaucrats, and they just talk down to community organizers and advocates. And that's not the way it's done. So Karina can, thank you, Karina, for posting that. She also posted the Eventbrite link. Oh, here's it right here. Beautiful. Thank you, Jack. There's a change.org petition going around spreading fear about the bus network redesign. These are lies. Don't sign it. Really? And this is from Second Avenue Sagas. So Ben Kasich is a board member of Riders Alliance, just so you all know. And this is why, people always ask me, why is there so much friction between Passengers United and Riders Alliance? This has been going on now for almost a year and a half. And actually before that, I think it was before the pandemic, actually. But there's no respect for community advocates. And this is one example of it. So they don't know what goes on in our communities. So we need to be mindful of that. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just needed you guys to know that. So why don't we go to Alan's petition and show people what Alan's petition says?
I just like to say first, I wrote back to Ben Kaybeck and I asked him to point out what is not true, and he never responded.
Good point, Alan. Did everyone hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I heard it. I heard him.
All right. So this
So here's the actual petition.
Why don't we let Alan read it? Because this is his petition. If that's okay, Alan. Or you want us to do it?
It's rather lengthy. I'd rather not read it. I'll just summarize. Basically, it says that the whole idea of removing bus stops en masse is based on faulty logic, that the buses are slow. The buses are not slow when you compare them to how fast cars go on city streets. The average speed, auto speed, is about 10 miles an hour. And Brooklyn buses are average 7 miles an hour. Queens is even higher. Queens is like 9 or 10 miles an hour, which is just slightly slower than cars. Yet the MTA wants to eliminate 1,300 bus stops in Queens, falsely saying that the buses are slow. And they're not slow when you can, especially since Vision Zero and the speed limit got dropped to 25 miles an hour. Buses are just slightly slower than cars, which you would have to expect because the buses stop. So the whole premise that buses are slow and that's why we have to remove bus stops is fallacious. And then, as you saw in the video that you posted earlier, they're primarily going after lightly utilized bus stops. And that's also wrong because lightly utilized bus stops, most of the buses don't stop because no one's getting on or getting off. So removing those bus stops, all it does is increases the walk for the few people who use those bus stops, and it doesn't make the buses go any faster.
Yeah, and let's not forget that this includes many senior citizens, many people who have mobility impairments, who cannot necessarily walk farther to get the same bus that they're currently getting now.
And I just want to say, on Northern Boulevard, the bus stops were every 2 blocks. They really should be about every 3 blocks in most cases. But on Northern Boulevard, it was every 2 blocks, but it was every 2 blocks for a good reason, because there are no parallel bus routes to Northern Boulevard. And people had to walk over a quarter of a mile to get to the bus stop, which is why there was space so close together. So they eliminated every other bus stop. They didn't make it every 3 blocks, they made it every 4 blocks. So now there are places in Jackson Heights we have to walk 3/4 of a mile to get to the bus on Northern Boulevard. And people aren't going to do that.
I agree. I live in Jackson Heights. I know it's horrible what they did.
Can I just jump in? I wanted to say something. So I spoke to the head of the bus shelter company who provides the bus shelters for the bus stops. And I asked her, because the bus shelter company, I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but in the video Jack showed you where you saw the Riders Alliance bus ads. So Riders Alliance got funding for the bus ads, but they were put in for free by the bus shelter companies, telling people about better buses. Now, the problem I have is, let's put our thinking caps on. Why would the bus shelter company want bus stops eliminated? They would lose advertising revenue, right? So I asked her about that. And guess what I found out? So every time when kids vandalize, not even kids, but when people vandalize the bus shelters and they break the glass, guess who pays for that? Not the city of New York to repair it. The bus shelter company has to use its advertising money to pay. They basically have to eat up the cost to repair the bus shelters. This would explain why they want bus shelters eliminated. So I feel that the city should fix this. This is a contract issue, and the city should pay for broken bus shelters. So this is why the company now, because it's privately owned, they want to turn a profit, and they feel like in certain bus stops, they don't want, but most of the bus stops that are being vandalized are not, it's being vandalized by people driving in cars. They come, they shoot out the bus stop with BB guns or whatever, and then they leave. That's not the fault of the community. That's the fault of that's just how it is in some communities, unfortunately. But I just feel like people are being punished, and shame on JCD Calcs for what they're doing. I was very upset. In fact, I had called her and asking her not to put these bus ads up. And if they were going to put bus ads for Riders Alliance, why not put up bus ads for Passengers United, right? So this is what happens when a corporation like Riders Alliance has millions of dollars. They can come into a community, they can infiltrate, like with other people like Jim Burke, who sold us out. And basically, Jim Burke is the administrator of the Queens Bus Facebook group. Mrs. Mercado and them, basically, they became associated with the Open Streets, and basically Transportation Alternatives and Riders Alliance infiltrated them. And this is what happened, guys, and they turned on us. That's why I'm no longer a member of the Queens Bus Facebook group. Many people left because of that. I was surprised when I heard that. So this is what's going on, guys. And now they're putting bus shelter ads. So they're trying to basically suppress local organizers, and they're trying to push the MTA propaganda. And it gets even better. I'm going to be doing a video about how Riders Alliance is financed and who's financing them. That video is coming out soon. Look for that. It'll be coming out any day now. But I don't want to waste time on them, but I think you guys get the point.
All right, thank you. And but yes, it's absolutely important. Sign the petition. Really speak up, especially if you're affected. But even if you're not affected by any of the redesigns, speak up anyway. It's really important that we really get the message across that these are not okay.
I just want to say one more thing. I'm not against removing all bus stops. I'll say some, maybe 5% of the bus stops need to be removed. Some of them were put there by accident. They never should have. I can give you examples, which I don't want to go into now, where bus stops were put in by accident, which is why a bus will stop 100 feet away, 100 or 200 feet away. It was never meant to be like that. So I'm glad on one hand that the MTA is finally reviewing bus stops, because they've never done that in their history. So it can correct a mistake that was made 50 years ago. But so maybe 5% of the bus stops need to be removed, but not 33%. They've gone totally overboard. So I don't want people to think that signing the petition means you're against all bus stop removal. You just don't want, you don't want 33% removed. You only want it to be removed where it's necessary, and that's like 5%.
So can I ask a question about that, a follow-up? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, Rona.
I think it would be valuable to know which ones those are, because if the communities where they are don't mind, because there's one like right over there, it's like having two Starbucks on the same block. You know, if it's okay to know, then we can actually sometimes show possibly greater strength by saying, we're not saying don't remove any, we're saying remove these. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes us, it'll show that we're not being unreasonable, we're being thoughtful.
So Rana, what
better to
happened?
remove.
So Rana, what happened in the Bronx when I went up there to the Patterson houses? The bus shelter, and throughout the Bronx, we noticed that the bus stops that were eliminated actually had good working bus shelters, and the bus stops that they relocated to had no bus shelters, and the cement was badly like in the area. So they just did it by distance. They
It
didn't
seems
even
clear
bother
too
to
that
survey the
they're
bus
trying to
shelters.
save money. So if we can say like, no, we get it, you need to save some money, save money on these stops and leave these that the community needs. I just think it could be useful for us to know which stops we can be like, no, that one's okay. You know,
Well,
so
that would require a lot of time and a lot of effort. I can think of like two offhand that I know of. But so it's not really, it's really their job to do that. I did want to say my conversation with the gentleman from the MTA, he did tell me that now they're paying more attention to bus stops with shelters, and they're going to try not to remove the ones that have shelters in them. So we'll see when they come out with the revised final Queen's plan. We'll see if that's true also.
And guys, I want to point out something really important. So for the bus redesigns, right? The reason why Riders Alliance and Transportation Alternatives are so engaged, because guess who funds transportation alternatives? Lyft and Uber. Who owns the bike contract with City Bike? Lyft does, right, Jack? So this is the problem. And now they're coming in, they're trying to infiltrate. And guess what? In Southeast Queens and parts of the Bronx and parts of South Brooklyn, that means if there's no bus stops, people are going to want to use Uber, Lyft, and they're going to be making a profit. This whole thing is a con game, guys. They're trying to pull a con game on all of us. That's why I'm telling everyone, confront your elected officials, because the elected officials are not too bright in the head, guys. And I hate to say that, but they're not. And they just go with what Riders Alliance says and the MT. And the MT is no better either. I spoke to Jano Lieber about this at a conversation with people in MT management. And I told them, we will not go for this. If I see, after what happened in the Bronx, because the way the MT talks to us, advocates, like they'll come up to us and say, you don't have your facts right. You don't know what you're talking about. Excuse me. We gave the MT a chance to get it right. They didn't get it right in Staten Island. They screwed up all the express buses there. They went in the Bronx, screwed up all the buses in Co-op City. right? Now people have to take 2 buses to get to the subway. The Q50 was eliminated going into Co-op City. People have to take 2 buses to get to the 50. So what are you talking about? And now you're going to tell us we don't know our facts? Now, wait a minute, hold up. So I don't trust them. And, in Queens, I have a feeling they're going to try to cut buses in Southeast Queens, which they already are. We live in transit desert. Same thing for South Brooklyn. There are parts of South Brooklyn by Bensonhurst over there, Bay Ridge. Those are transit deserts. They have nothing out there. And the R train is very unreliable. Don't even get me started on that. The N train is a joke. And the express bus ends after 8 p.m. And the thing is, even if you had an express bus running hourly, 24 hours a day, that would still be a transit desert. So they need more service. They need more infrastructure. They need better, just better bus service out there. And they need frequent bus service. And you know what's crazy in the Brooklyn bus redesign? All the posh neighborhoods, and guys, I hope you don't mind me saying this. I know we're supposed to be politically correct and all that stuff, but I'm going to say it. Williamsburg. Notice how the bus service in those areas, they're adding more bus service for those people because it's gentrification, guys. And this is what's going on. And, they claim there's more riders, they're paying their fares, and they always use fare evasion as an excuse. It's a public service. It's a government issued service. It's supposed to run equally. So, if somebody wants to jump in on that, they can.
Yeah, exactly. The way that just the service changes proposed by the redesigns in Queens, for example. Look at what they're doing to Howard Beach. Howard Beach is a lower income community. Same thing with Queens Village, Southeast Queens. The list goes on and on. But I just wanted to add the point that many of these communities are lower income communities. And also,
if you're coming from Staten Island, which a lot of people don't realize, there are people in Staten Island who don't have money to get on the express bus. They cannot afford the express bus. So, many times what I've done when I go to Tim Hortons on Highland Boulevard over there, that's my favorite Tim Hortons. I take the 79, but the way they did it on Highland Boulevard now, the SBS bus stops like 10 blocks apart. So you could, if you have an unlimited ride Metro card, you could get on the S78, then get on the 79 SBS, take it across the bridge into Brooklyn to get the R train. But then again, if you miss the R train, you're waiting 25 minutes for the next R train. So some people, they take the bus all the way up to Brooklyn. And remember, some people don't take trains. Some people just take 4 or 5 buses. So if you needed to go by local bus from Staten Island to Manhattan, you can't really do it. You would have to take 4 or 5 buses because the only bus that goes from Brooklyn into Manhattan is the B39. And that cuts off at 9:30, 9 o'clock. So, you're screwed. And this is what these advocates don't understand. People cannot afford express buses. People don't want to go on the subway. They want to use the unlimited Metro card on local buses. There's been times where I've taken the bus from NYU overnight. I leave NYU at 1 o'clock in the morning. I kid you not. If I get the bus up 3rd Avenue, I get the Q60, and I get the Q110, I could do the trip in an hour and a half, quicker than the subway. And it's much more comfortable. It's warm. It has heat. No issues. So you need bus service. Equity.
Exactly. So I think we covered that. The next topic we're going to be focusing on is this is a hard word, cleanliness of trains and buses. I know, Charlton, you can speak on that.
Don't even get me started on this, Jack. We want everyone else to jump in, so I'll just keep it short. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was trying to get a bill introduced in the state legislature, which was adopted by the Assembly, and it was sponsored by the Senate, but the MT's legal department got the bill killed in both chambers, and that was the bed bug bill. So basically, right now, the MT has wooden benches in the subway, and those wooden benches attract bed bugs. So if you sit on that wooden chair and the bed bug crawls on you, and then it crawls in the subway seats, it spreads to other people. That was one thing, and that didn't go through. So we're trying to get that passed now. But the buses are filthy. The buses in the Bronx, the buses in Queens, Manhattan, on the M15, it's disgusting. Have you seen the buses on the M103, 102 up Third Avenue? It's nasty. I feel like taking a pressurized water hose and cleaning the bus myself. I probably could clean it, but yeah. So let's all share stories, guys, about dirty buses.
Anyone?
Can I say something about like bus safety? I'm sure everyone has seen on Passengers United on the group page, I have a very big situation in Manhattan with an express bus for the Staten Island commuters. Jack and Charlton know what I'm talking about because they went to the scene, they went in person to the site that I'm talking about, and I have a big problem. I have a story I can share in this meeting, or if not, I could post it privately to the page on Facebook. I was waiting for my friend on Tuesday afternoon. He was coming from Staten Island on the Sim 1C. The driver didn't let him off. They didn't let him off, even though he rang the bell. My friend ended up all the way on West 23rd Street and 6th Avenue, and I had to direct him to meet me at where we were scheduled to meet. It was horrible, horrible. I should have snapped a picture of it. And I could have reported it.
I have some good news for you on that front. Yuki Endo was also there, and he actually got video of the buses. Yuki did a good job on that.
I saw it. I saw it. I saw it.
I spoke to the president of New York City Transit, and I sent DOT an email about it. There's construction going on there, but number one, to respond to what you just said, if the passenger had pressed the button, I'm assuming he pressed the button, right? The bus is supposed to stop
there. There were two Sim 1C buses that passed. My friend was not on the first one. He was on the second bus. That one had a lot of passengers getting off, and he didn't get off. I was so angry. I was furious.
Did the bus driver close the door and just pull out when the green light came? Is that what it was?
I don't remember, Charlton. There were other passengers getting off the bus, but my friend didn't get off. He was all the way in the back of the bus.
That's what probably happened. So by the time he got to the front, the bus driver probably saw the green light, closed the doors, and took off. That's wrong.
It is wrong, Charlton. I should have taken a picture of it and sent it to you guys because I was very angry. And I should have snapped the picture. I could have reported at the next board meeting.
Even if the bus driver, let's say if the bus driver had done that and he pulled out, he could have stopped on the next block or block later to let him off. He didn't have to take him all the way to 23rd. Like, come on. What's up with these? Some of these bus drivers, I know it must have been a new bus driver, maybe. But
I don't know, Charlton. I didn't pay attention. I was just upset because my friend was supposed. I'm like, where did I miss the bus?
Guys, we also have to keep in mind, and this is something that a lot of the bus drivers are frustrated, and a lot of trips are being canceled. They're being forced to do double work to pick up double loads from the trip that was canceled. By the time they get to the city and deal with that traffic, they're frustrated. They're like ready to just go off on people. And so, but if someone's getting off the bus and their bell rang and people were getting off that bus, as you indicated, the driver should have waited and kept the doors open. So
it was really bad. And I hope it doesn't happen again on Tuesday when I meet up with my friend. If it happens again, I'm going to snap a picture of the bus and I'm going to report it.
You know what, Cassie? Let me know when you're going to be out there, and I'll come out there with you and see this myself.
I go out there every Tuesday afternoon,
okay.
Every afternoon on Tuesday. You or Jack can come in person.
And in the afternoons,
excuse me?
Traffic on 6th Avenue, and we were at that bus stop, and you know what I noticed? There were
what did you observe?
There.
I'm sorry?
Cars were parked over there at that bus stop, blocking the bus stop.
It was terrible. I sent the video. There were 4 vehicles parked at that bus stop. It was, oh my gosh, I was angry.
And guess what those 4 cars were? TLC license plates. What does that have to tell you? So with Riders Alliance and Transportation Alternatives getting money from Uber and Lyft, and with them supporting congestion pricing and all this stuff, you know who benefits? All the for-hire private the cab companies. It's all money.
Yeah, speaking of which, that's where we're going to go next, congestion pricing.
Okay, Jack, sorry. Anyone else want to say anything? Let's give people a chance. Anyone have any questions or anything? No? Okay, everyone's quiet. All
I'm
right.
here. I'm ready.
Oh, yeah, James. Let James talk. Yeah.
Well, I'm back.
Hello, James.
You know, I am. You know, in case you didn't know this, like one of the express buses in the Bronx, for example, hold on. Like the BX M1 and the BX Tune bus, it going from the Riverdale to East Midtown and West Midtown. So what's the difference between East Midtown and the West Midtown?
I think I can explain that. If Jack or Charlton want to correct me, you both can. You're more than welcome to. West Midtown is like mostly where I meet up with my friends a lot, like Central Park area, Bryant Park, like maybe 34th Street on the west side, and Times Square, and by Rockefeller Center. That's West Midtown. East Midtown is like Pitts Bay by NYU Langone Hospital, and the east side, past like over there. Jack or Charlton, am I correct on that? Or
yeah,
no?
you're correct. You're correct.
I am. What about you,
pretty
Jack?
much.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Like East Midtown is like pretty much everywhere below the 59th Street Bridge on the east side.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I know that means.
Something
Go
like
ahead,
that.
James.
Those
Go ahead,
a
James.
couple miles below that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
All
you.
right, James, could you be do you have a question or just go on mute? Because we hear some background.
Well, I have another question.
All right.
And so the J train and the Z train are going to be making a skip stops between that, like starting on February, like through August. What's the difference between the J loco running from a skip stops?
So they're doing construction on the J line. That's why that's happening. They're doing station rehabilitation, and that's only going to be for 6 months, and then service will resume once they rebuild the other part of the station. They're doing structural work and elevator work. That's why that's happening.
Great. I was just about to ask about the elevators.
Yes.
And the elevators too.
Yes, they're putting in elevators, but in order to put the elevators in, they have to close parts of the platform because they're doing structural work and there's contractors there. So they're trying to get in and out. Hopefully they'll get it done in 6 months, depending on the weather conditions and depending on how many weekends they have to cancel with the contractor. So if they have no outages, no cancellations with the contractor on the work because of conditions, then everything will go as planned.
Awesome. I just wanted to go back to the issue of congestion pricing because I know that's been
James, please mute yourself. Thank you.
Sorry.
But James, you gotta mute yourself. Go ahead, Jack.
That's fine, but I just wanted to mention it because it's been a kind of a hot topic lately. It's I know that it was passed into law, so there's very likely going to be something happening in regards to a new toll for anyone going. I think it's below 60th Street, as far as we've heard at the moment.
61st Street.
61st Street. That's news to me. But the issue that we're having with the whole plan as it is right now, what's going to happen to those who live in transit deserts and don't have any other way to get into the city? Especially those with lower incomes. Anyone want to follow up on that?
So what's going to happen is they're going to be basically screwed. That's Riders Alliance, Transportation Alternatives, and our elected officials for you. So here's what we say at Passengers United. Okay, y'all want congestion pricing. The original plan for congestion pricing 10 or 15 years ago was to have the East River bridges tolled, the ones that are not owned by the MTA, like the Manhattan Bridge, Williamsburg, Brooklyn Bridge, 59th Street Bridge. And that's how you do it. Put tolls on those bridges, leave it alone, and let people, because people who use the DOT free bridges are not paying. By having congestion pricing on those bridges, that's it. Call it a deal. But for them to charge people to drive below 60th Street, it's just out of control. It's not going to work. Because what about people from New Jersey? Why should people from New Jersey? And don't get me wrong, New Jersey is not getting any money from congestion pricing. But we're asking people from New Jersey, and I was on the congestion pricing environmental assessment review committee. I was, and I made these same comments that I'm making to you guys now. If you're asking people to pay a Port Authority toll, then you're asking them to pay another $22 or something to come in the city, but you're not giving them
They're
any
saying
money.
the max might be 23.
23, but if you're not giving them infrastructure money to fix the path, like the path should be free. New Jersey Transit should get new tunnels. The 7 line should be extended into New Jersey. Then you get people excited about it. But this is the MTA's fault because they don't know what they're doing. And all these idiots that were trying to get these things done, their minds are not there. It wasn't until I started speaking about New Jersey that Riders Alliance suddenly had a press conference in New Jersey. Isn't that funny? But we'll talk about that in a video coming up. And I see Rana has her hands up. Take it away, Rana.
Yeah, I just think that there's another equity issue that's not being discussed. That's a problem with this, with congestion pricing, in addition to the ones you're raising, which is if they're not making additional public transit available, people are still going to drive. But there's also going to be more traffic in the peripheral areas than there is where they're doing the congestion pricing, which really, again, impacts people in an unfair way. People from different socioeconomic backgrounds. If you're just pushing all the smog to the neighborhoods that have poor people living in them, how is that even remotely equitable? So I feel like, there's an environmental equity issue that's also a part of this problem that I think needs to be discussed as another incentive for extending public transportation so that we're not just creating smog and air pollution in poor neighborhoods because we're helping out Manhattanites.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you
So
said
when
is
I spoke on the committee on that MTA task force, we met about 5 times. And the meetings were like 2 months apart. One of the things I asked the MTA was, because I know the Cross Bronx came up, and also parts of Sunnyside, Woodside, because that's where the boundaries would be, obviously, because the bridge is there. And people would end up parking their cars in Long Island City, parts of the South Bronx. And so we all told them, you're just taking the pollution and dumping it in these communities. It doesn't work. What I asked the MTA was, did they have new bus routes, express bus routes, and new local bus routes that could run along the highways to bring people into the city? And the answer was, as part of the redesign, we're working on that. We've seen the redesign. Have you seen any new routes on the LIE into the city? No.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they just, they're also, it's a moneymaker again, and it's a way for them to say, look how we're helping make life better for New Yorkers, more walking and whatever, but it's gaslighting.
I just want to say a few words about congestion pricing. Congestion pricing has nothing to do with congestion, which is why they renamed it. They only estimate congestion pricing going to reduce congestion by 5%, 5 to 10%. So that's not reducing it. And if it was about congestion, you wouldn't charge from midnight to 6 a.m. Why are they charging this at 3 a.m. in the morning? Because it's only about raising revenue. And the law says they have to raise $1 billion. They're never going to raise the $1 billion. So what they're going to do is
and a year from now, they'll just move it from 61st Street up to 96th Street or further. And the bad thing about that is then it's going to affect all the hospitals on the Upper East Side where people have to go for cancer treatment and whatever, and they can't take public transportation. So it's totally unfair. The MTA, yes, the MTA needs more money, but on the other hand, the more money you give the MTA, the more money they'll waste. If they have constraints on the budget, then they're forced to look where they can cut costs and save money. You give them money, they don't have to. One example of all the money they're wasting is that they took over the private bus companies in 2004, and they still haven't integrated them into one system.
Yeah, so the reason why they couldn't get integrated, Alan, was a state legislature issue. The state assembly and the state senate could not vote to merge them into New York City Transit. But I kind of feel like the MTA bus drivers should get paid more money. But Carl has a question, so let's go to Carl.
Let me just finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's legal issues and there's union issues. But in 14 years, you think those issues would have been solved. So the result is you have a very inefficient bus system. The B100, which is the MTA bus company bus route from Mill Basin to the Brighton station, that passes directly in front of Flatbush Depot. But the buses come out from Spring Creek Depot. So the buses have to go an extra 6 or 7 miles every day just to get to the bus route. Now multiply that times all the other routes where buses aren't in their closest depots, and you could just get it. You could just see how much money the MTA is wasting. So they really need to become more efficient and not look at the public as the MTA's ATM.
So does everyone know what the MTA bus company is? Let me get into that because I think some people might not know. So in 2006, all of you are older here, so all of you know, back in the day, we had New York Bus Company, we had Command Bus Company, Jamaica Bus Company, Triborough Coach, and another bus company up in the Bronx. So what happened was when Mayor Bloomberg was mayor and the private bus drivers went on strike, he got angry, and because they weren't covered under the Taylor law. So what he decided to do was he decided to merge all the companies together under the MTA, but it was also because of operational issues. There was structural, it was a whole bunch of issues going on with the private bus companies. And the service was run by DOT. It was very unreliable, according to them. So what happened was the MTA bus company was created because the state legislature and assembly did not want it merged into New York City Transit because they didn't want the private bus companies eating out of New York City Transit's budget, according to the back and forth that was
Charles,
going on.
to correct you, that's not the real reason. The reason was when in 1962, when New York City Transit Authority took over MAPSTOA, there was a stipulation they weren't allowed to take over any other. There couldn't be another subsidiary of New York City Transit, so that's why they had to create a whole different unit. Legally they couldn't make it part of New York City Transit. They had to create a separate unit. They called it under the MTA, and they called it the MTA Bus Company. But as I said, they had 14 years to resolve all the legal issues. They've merged a lot of the functions downtown. Planning was merged, but the operational is still run as two separate operations.
And also, I do want to say that every time the Long Island Railroad is out, sometimes they used to use the MTA bus company buses to do the shuttle because it was cheaper to pay the drivers than to use New York City Transit drivers. But that's a whole other issue. So going back to the equity of the private bus companies. So once they got consolidated, the fare in the old private bus companies used to be $1, and you could get a transfer. You could actually go from Queens Village to Manhattan on $1. That's how good it was. I remember that. You could take the Q110, the Q60. So we lost that. Now the fare became, $2.50, I think, when they did the takeover. And they had unlimited Metro cards and everything. They had that one fare, one city campaign under Mayor Giuliani That helped, make bus service a little bit better. But the problem was they never added service. There were some routes like the Q110 where there hadn't been a schedule change in 20 years. And when MTA Bus Company came in, it was really bad because the buses were overcrowded. It took them a while. But I agree with Alan on those things. But at the same time, the bus driver parity, and this is where discrimination comes into play and equity comes into play, because we're talking about people of color who drive those buses in predominantly poor neighborhoods, and they're getting less than MT New York City Transit drivers do. So that's a parity issue. Are we getting carried away, Jack, or do we want to go to the next one, or let more people speak?
I think you said it, and I know, speaking of service, I know one thing I was going to touch on, but I think it was covered, was the argument that congestion pricing would help toward our climate goals, which we're seeing that's not going to happen. And on the discussion on service,
Carl has his hand up.
Oh yes, Carl.
Yeah, Charlton, what you said earlier about the tolls on the bridges, I think that made sense. I remember years ago when that was first proposed, they were worried about the toll plazas and all this additional expense. But now they're getting rid of it. So they got rid of all the toll plazas on the bridges. It's a very simplified system now that they could read the barcode from the Easy Pass. You don't need toll plazas anymore or anything like that, anything that of great expense. So it should be very easy to now implement the tolls on those East River bridges. And even though the MTA doesn't actually operate them, they could just do a journal entry of all the funds that go on the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, the Williamsburg Bridge. They could take those funds from those barcode machines that the people use those bridges and funnel that directly to the MTA. It should be a seamless system now. There's no more toll plazas. There's no more toll, so I could see that that's a very thing that should be implemented a lot easier than what they're proposing in Manhattan, to below 61st Street. So you're right. And it should be much more mentioned that administratively, it's a lot easier today than it would have been 5 or 10 years ago.
And one thing I want to point out, because we've been criticized as Passengers United, people have come up to me and said, what is wrong with you guys? You guys are passengers advocates. Why are y'all against congestion pricing? And yeah, I've had people scream at me, and I need to explain something. The problem is the MTA does not know how to manage money. Does anyone know who the seventh largest debtor in the United States is? Can someone take a guess? Just raise your hands if you'll know the question. Or speak.
No, so I'm not going to answer it.
The MTA, seventh largest debtor in the United States. Nobody talks about this. It's a fact. It was brought up by the Strap Hangers campaign. That's a fact. The MTA has mismanaged so much money, billions. Look at East Side Access. Now, don't get me wrong, that was a great project. It did help, because Long Island Railroad needed to be rebuilt. It needed new infrastructure. The East River tunnels are crumbling. The service was really, really bad, and they needed something for people in Queens and Long Island. But at the same time, $11 billion. $11 billion, guys, and even more. It might even be more than that. So, I mean, we need better accounting, better management. I know the new administration for the last 4 or 5 years has been trying to do that at the MTA, but then again, they just spent, what was it, 30 million on an entrance at Times Square? Elevators. All right. Anyone want to comment? Or Karina, you have a comment? David, you got a comment? Okay, I guess
I was going to say one thing, and that is the ratio of private vehicles to TLC vehicles, that includes taxis, Ubers, Lyfts, etc., has drastically increased over the last decade. And I'm just wondering how you would respond to that when it comes to the implementation of congestion pricing and how that would affect.
This is a good point. So you know how congestion in the city was created? When Christie and Quinn And when Corey Johnson, I think it was Corey Johnson, Corey Johnson, City Council Speaker Corey Johnson decided to hell with the yellow cabs and the private cab companies. Let's let for-hire companies on like Uber, Lyft, all of them come in. And what did they do? They destroyed the cab market in New York City. And everyone thought at the time they were getting a good deal. Well, guess what? No, they're not. Now, communities don't have control over their car service now. It's all these billion-dollar companies, and they control transportation alternatives. They control Riders Alliance. They're coming in, destroying our communities. So yeah, this is what happens when you have elected officials who don't know what they're doing, guys. And so if you think about open streets, look at 8th Avenue in the 30s, from 32nd Street all the way up to 42nd. You notice how they've narrowed 8th Avenue. Has anyone seen that with those big pedestrian plazas? In some ways, they could have made it a little bit more wider, because you have to understand, even though we're transportation advocates, there are people in the city who rely on cars. And that's a civil right. If you're afraid to use the bus, afraid to use the subway, I don't drive. I don't own a car. I never have. I use the bus and subway. But if we're going to be real advocates and we're going to talk about issues, we need to respect everyone's community and everyone's boundary, right? We need to be fair to people. And this is the mistake that these congestion pricing advocates have made. They're not listening to New Jersey. They didn't listen to what they said in Connecticut. They're not listening to people who own cars.
Sometimes I go out to see my sister in Long Island, and there used to be cab companies, local cab companies in her town. No more. I called the local cab company. Oh, well, we don't know when the cab is coming. Maybe an hour. I don't know. But guess what? You call Uber. Uber's there in 8 minutes. I think they've totally taken over the market.
Yeah, a friend of mine. A
$100.
friend of mine wanted to get a cab from JFK to Astoria. She couldn't get a cab. She called private cabs. She ended up taking a yellow cab, which actually turned out to be quite reasonable. But none of the private cab companies would take her. I just want to say another word about congestion. They would like you to believe that all the congestion's in Manhattan, when there's more congestion outside Manhattan than inside Manhattan. And the reason we have the congestion is because of all the lanes that they've eliminated, all the parking they've eliminated, all the turn restrictions. Like 34th Avenue and Jackson Heights used to be a great alternative to Northern Boulevard. So now they closed off half the street. So you have no alternative. Now you're stuck on Northern Boulevard. Plus they put in a bus lane. So they've actually increased congestion. All the city policies have increased congestion, not decreased it. And getting rid of all the arterials and making 25 miles an hour on all the arterial routes considerably slowed down traffic. And now they have plans to turn Atlantic Avenue into a bike lane street. They've already eliminated one lane on Atlantic Avenue, made it more congested. Now they want to eliminate another lane. They want to leave it with 2 lanes, including a turning lane. So they're intentionally increasing congestion, and it's also hurting the buses.
The same thing with Prospect Park West. They eliminated a lane in Prospect Park West, gave it to the bikes, which is probably done by the bike lobby, transportation alternatives. Therefore, we can't have a bus there. We can't have the B69 bus there like it used to be before 2010. And senior citizens have to walk 2 blocks uphill to enjoy Prospect Park from 7th Avenue, or people that are disabled.
That's totally ridiculous. What they did in Prospect Park, first they eliminated the cars going through the park. Then they put bike lanes, and eliminated a lane on Prospect Park West, and they did the same to Flatbush Avenue. So they've actually reduced capacity for cars by 40%. So of course, traffic, you're going to get more congestion, and they blame the drivers for it when it's all city policies that's increased the congestion.
I agree with you guys. I'm reading some of the comments in the chat, and yeah, Karina said there should be a bus route from the Barclays to Jamaica. I agree. We've been saying that for years. The Long Island Railroad ends at a certain time, and it's going to get worse. So I should mention, since she brought that up, I should mention something. With Grand Central Madison going to the full schedules for the Long Island Railroad in about 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to lose a one-seat ride from Queens to Atlantic Terminal. It's going to become a shuttle train. You're going to have to walk. When you get to Jamaica, you're going to have to walk down the mezzanine all the way to track 12 and pick up the special shuttle train. And the shuttle train runs every 20 minutes, according to the MTE. They claim it's supposed to be faster, but why are you making people spend $60 on a 7-day weekly to go through that mess? So if you're coming from Rosedale and you want to go to Atlantic Terminal, you're going to have to get off at Jamaica, go up those stairs from track 1 and 2 or 3, and go all the way down upstairs to track 12 by the air train station, go downstairs and get on the shuttle train. And if you miss it, you might have to wait another 20 minutes.
And
Good
the
old
Brooklyn-
MPA for you. That's why
And the Brooklyn Borough president knew about that 3 years ago and never said a word.
I did. We spoke up for it. I spoke up. And, now that you're bringing it up, Alan, about you speaking up for it, us speaking up for it, the PCAC, the Permanent Citizens Advisory Council, is a joke, guys. They do nothing for the riders. They've been very rude to me. Some of our Passengers United members, they accused us of trying to hijack their meet, which we did. We were just asking a lot of questions because they wouldn't answer our questions in email. So that's that for you. We're dealing with that. We're working on that. But Carl has his hands up, so let's go to Carl.
Yeah, that issue. I think their ultimate goal is to make that Atlantic branch part of the subway system. That's why
That's what I told Philip Eng. And Philip
They've been
Eng,
talking about that for years, but they never did it.
well, Philip Eng, before he left, because he was forced out, Philip Eng told me he wanted to make that, he wanted to put turnstiles and turn that over to New York City Transit, but have the railroad trains run, but instead of leather seats, have like subway seats. And that would be a game changer for Brooklyn and Queens, because then on an unlimited Metro card or a bus transfer or subway transfer, you can go right to Brooklyn in 20 minutes.
There was a proposal to go from I believe it was if I'm wrong, Alan and Carl. There was a proposal a number of years ago to transform the Atlantic branch into a shortcut to Lower Manhattan, but that got knocked down and it never saw the light of day. But to make it like a subway, but I don't know, that's an old proposal.
Yeah,
But
I saw that.
also,
The Lower Manhattan proposal, I saw that years ago, and I'm thinking that if they do that, what do you call it? They could really open the lower level of the Woodhaven station, 100th Street and Atlantic Avenue.
That was originally proposed, to my knowledge, by the Regional Plan Association, the RX.
So, guys, since we're talking about that, should we mention? Oh, Jack, did you want to jump in and say something? Because you get a hand raised, Jack. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to mention that. Well, first of all, why even remove the leather seats? You see leather seats all over so many other transit systems elsewhere than New York. Why downgrade it? Secondly, the proposed timetables, they haven't released the final schedules yet, but according to the drafts, there would be no more time transfers at Jamaica. So when they run the trains from Penn Station or Grand Central, which is where they're predominantly going to be running from or to, and you get to Jamaica, you're pretty much left in the dark if you're not looking at your phone, or if you have to go to and from Brooklyn. Let's say your train arrives late in Jamaica. There's something that happens. If you miss the last train of the day, you're screwed. There's no more time transfers. The trains don't wait for you. But also, what's that going to do for people with mobility impairments? They're going to have to get out of Jamaica from Brooklyn, which is probably going to be one of the older M3 cars. I don't know how long they're going to be keeping those in service, but they are very likely putting those on the Brooklyn branch.
Oh, yes, guys, Jack
And-
is right. So all the old
Yes.
M3 cars will be running on the Atlantic line once full Grand Central service starts. There's also something else. Since Jack brought up the elevators,
Yeah, what I was going to mention is that what's going to happen with someone who's has a mobility impairment, has to get off that train, go up the elevator, which might be working or not, go up there, travel to the other track, get on another elevator, and then realize that their train is left.
And also the elevators at Jamaica Station, the LIRR platforms are not owned by the Long Island Railroad. They're owned by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We've gotten complaints about elevators malfunctioning there. I complained to the LIRR and they told me that's Port Authority's elevators. Even though it's on LIRR's property, they're maintained by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Also, the walk bridge doesn't work. I see Cassie, I know you got something to say. Uh-oh, jump on in, Cassie. Uh-oh.
No, I don't. No, I
Okay.
don't. I'm just saying, I don't know why they're not owned by Long Island Railroad. I don't understand. If Jamaica is a Long Island Railroad, excuse me, is a Long Island Railroad stop, why is it not owned by the MTA? Why
It's
is
probably
it?
because how they got the money in the rehab of the station, probably, I suspect.
Who's speaking?
Gregory.
Oh, Gregory. Go ahead, Mr. Gregory.
No, I suspect it has to do with how they got the money for the rehab of the station. The station underwent a big rehab to make it compatible with the air train, with, and they built the air train connection next door. I suspect that's where all the money came from. The
That's what I
PFC
think.
funding.
That's why Charlton was saying it was Port Authority, because of the air trains to the airport. That's what it is.
Yeah, they got the $3 passenger facility charge funding from airport taxes.
And the problem I have is, okay, so it's owned by the Port Authority. Why isn't the Port Authority doing preventative maintenance on these elevators? So it's something I spoke with the head of Port Authority about. We're working to get an answer on that, hopefully soon. In fact, we're trying to get a community meeting on Zoom with the Port Authority officials, because we've gotten so many complaints and there's so many things happening about the air train equity, with the $8.50 surcharge now, and then
Is
you
it
gotta get the
$8.50 now?
subway.
I thought it was $8 the last time.
Oh,
Did
is
they
it
raise
$8? But you have to pay $1 for
$8
the
the last
MetroCard.
time I used it in August? Like, come on,
It's
it's a
16 if
people
you go
mover.
from Howard Beach to Jamaica.
Yeah, but then you also have to pay the $1 for the MetroCard surcharge on Port Authority.
Yeah,
That
I
kills
mean,
me.
I paid. Yeah, which if you're watching on the live stream or anyone who's in the meeting right now, there is a way that you can avoid that $8 fare on the air train. I know Charlton is gracious enough to share that with me, and that is if you take the air train from the terminals or any of the terminals
Mhm.
to the Lefferts Boulevard station, or the other way. If you take it to Lefferts Boulevard, get on the Q10 bus, take that to Kew Gardens, and you're only paying the transit fare.
Or if you need to go to Far Rockaway from the airport, what you could do is get off at Lefferts Boulevard, walk outside the airport, walk past Aqueduct Racetrack by the casino on the Conduit, and you could board at the A-Train station Aqueduct, which is very creepy and dark over there. And I know Action Kid tried to do it with luggage, and he made it. It was pouring rain, but he managed to get to the A-Train. That's the way I did it back 20 years ago when I didn't have any money, and I tried to exit at Howard Beach. And the station agent told me you have to pay the fare. And there's other ways too, but I'm not going to discuss it on this video. I'll get into trouble. But yep, I agree with Jack. But this is what we need, fair equity, guys. This is what's happening in our communities. And then going back to the other issues where city ticket for the railroad. So we've been saying the $5 the fee that the governor announced, because city ticket, you're going to be able to use it during rush hours now for $5. But it doesn't give you a bus or subway transfer. So if you're paying $10 a day to go and come, plus you have to pay $2.75 again to get on the bus, that's not equity, guys. It's not equity. You have to have like a $45 weekly pass to make it equitable for people. So the MTA has told me there's a committee going on. We're not on that committee, but I wanted to talk about something that happened with Betsy. So baby strollers, I think we should talk about this issue, Jack, if you don't mind, because there's a sensitive issue with baby strollers that's been happening. So the bus drivers have been complaining to me that people can board the buses with baby strollers, but they don't have to fold them. And they're testing them. The problem is when Betsy and them were on this committee, they should have had it where the baby stroller can be strapped in. Because the baby stroller is not strapped, and let's say the mother, or let's say if the brake is not working, and the bus driver has to like make a sudden stop, and the baby stroller goes into people, is that going to work? So we need to talk, this is the thing. Riders Alliance is just, they've been doing things. They came to the Grand Central event and they said that Grand Central Madison was a waste of money. A reporter had spoken for them at WNBC and he said Riders Alliance was against Grand Central Madison. Why would you be against something that's benefiting people? It's benefiting people in Queens and other boroughs. So guys, if you have any comments or jump on in. Nope.
Carl, did you have your hand up?
Oh, sorry, Carl.
I guess not.
Yeah,
last Saturday, they have clean bathrooms in Grand Central Madison. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the restrooms are very clean. The only issue I have with Grand Central Madison is the people who need elevators have to do a lot of walking and they have to go a long way to get out. This was very poorly planned. I blame the PCC for this.
Okay, there's a reason. What you mean about the depth of the tracks?
No, I mean the placement of elevators and the fact that the signage is so bad there. It's horrible over there. I tried to do the elevator route and it took me really long to get to the platform because the elevators from the platforms go up a certain way. Then you have to walk down the mezzanine to go to the elevators to take you up to the street level or to the mezzanine level.
Yeah. The escalator, I timed it in 1:42 in my case.
Yeah, and the escalators are not bad, but I feel like for $11 billion, there should have been a quicker way to get to the subway. I think that's the number one complaint. So there are legitimate complaints that are coming out of it. And one thing I want to know from the MTA, which I still haven't gotten an answer to, if Amtrak should go on strike, does the MTA have the ability to bring those trains into Grand Central? Using the lead
trains
track.
will not fit. Amtrak will not fit into Grand Central Madison.
No.
They'll fit in the upper
I'm
level.
talking about Long Island Railroad trains, Gregory. So let's say if Amtrak goes on strike and they have to close Penn Station, does Long Island Railroad own the exclusive rights to bring their trains into Grand Central through Harrell interlocking? And is that controlled by the railroad? That's what I asked the chairman, General Lieber, and MTA management. I still have not gotten a response to that yet. So I have a feeling that is not the. I have a feeling that Amtrak owns a part of that, and if that is the case, then that would be a problem for me. But if it turns out that LIR trains can go into Grand Central and serve Manhattan in the event of a strike, that actually would be it would be okay because at least trains could come in without, and that would be a great purpose for Grand Central. So I feel like with all the stuff going on in Penn Station, Grand Central works. Queens needed another alternative to the 7 line, the E, F, and R, because those trains are breaking down. But we're getting a lot of complaints about South Brooklyn. You guys in South Brooklyn are getting hammered on the N, the R every night. It's taking people 2 hours to go home.
Rode that today. It was slow. Oh, here's another one.
Oh, wait, Cassie was jumping.
What was slow? What was slow?
R train.
So, Cassie, we're getting a lot.
What? My N train, the N train's actually pretty good. I have no issues about it. It's very quick and reliable. But the R train is horrible. I don't even want to think.
Right. We're getting a lot of complaints about the R and late night because the work trains are set up there. It's taking 30 minutes to go on the Manhattan Bridge. People are complaining that if they have to go to 95th Street, remember the Staten Island commuters who go via subway? It's taking them 2.5 hours to get home. And I just told them they might as well just take the ferry because that's the quickest way, unfortunately. Cassie, unmute, we can hear you.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I feel bad for people that live in Staten Island. They can't afford taking the express bus. They can, like, and like, I have friends that come from Staten Island that I hang out with all the time in the city. They don't even feel comfortable taking the train because of the crime that's going on. They always take the express bus. They're more comfortable on that than the regular subway and all that. But they don't mind the ferry and the railway on Staten Island, but not the regular New York City trains once they get on the ferry.
Yeah, and there's a lot of homeless conditions on the R now. That's gotten really bad in South Brooklyn. And also, I think people just don't want to get on that. So they need to have especially the overnight people and the early morning people, like people like Jason who works at Amazon. He told me he has to go to the ferry to go all the way to Amazon. And he wants a route that goes from, from South Brooklyn to Manhattan, a local bus route overnight, which we've been calling for, Night Owl bus service.
And then also today I was on my N train going to the city, and a guy was smoking on the train this morning. I'm sitting on the train, minding my business. We're already in Manhattan. I'm like, what is that smell? I'm smelling smoke. All of a sudden, I look up. A guy is smoking. No one occurred on this call in front of everyone.
It's all right.
The conductor told him off. The conductor smelled it and told him off.
Was that the 6 train by any chance?
I'm sorry?
The 6, right?
No, the N train.
Yeah, well, we've been getting a lot of complaints about the 6. I was on the 6 train the other day where a guy was smoking. And now, watch out, guys, hypodermic needles. This is the new thing now. If you go, there's people who are shooting up and they get crazy and they start jumping with the needle. I saw this on the 6 train a few weeks ago. Guy had a hypodermic needle in his hand. Like he was going to stab people.
Oh my God.
I had to tell the ladies sitting there, I said, let's go. I tried to get them out of the train car. He followed us as the door was about to slam. So this goes back to equity, safety in the subway. We've been the only organization calling for safety. Where is everyone else?
And what's going on with the N train? Like what's happening? I take the N train. I'm a regular N rider. So what's going on with my N train?
You're probably taking so if you take the N train before 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., it's okay. But the problem is like after 8:30, 9 o'clock, it's going downhill.
It's bad after that?
Yeah, because the problem is the Manhattan Bridge and the work trains. So the work trains sometimes are breaking down, or like they're having issues with the signals, or they're setting up for track work, and it's holding up all the trains.
No, I take the trains early, like early afternoon, 7 o'clock, 8,
right.
7 early. That doesn't affect me.
Yeah, we're all the late night people. So I know when I take it to Atlantic, I've actually missed Long Island Railroad trains by 1 or 2 minutes because of how bad the trains were. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't really affect me. I travel early. I'm in the daytime and early.
No, but in the morning too, it affects people. It affects Lewis, who's a chef. He works in a restaurant, and he's been late to open the restaurant. And every day he complains to me about how bad service is coming from South Brooklyn. And so many people have reached out to me about conditions on the R. And I also got a phone call. Jack, is it okay if I bring up the safety issue now?
Briefly, just looking at the clock.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the safety issue, there's been a lot of push and shoves on the tracks. The other day, a gentleman called me and he told me his daughter, oh, Mark Holmes is here. You know what? Let's jump in. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Is he here? I didn't even see him. Where is Mark?
I don't think he's here.
Yeah, he just messaged me. Yeah, hold on.
Trying to get in?
Yeah. Please come
he
in.
has to fill out his name, email, and then he'll get an email with the...
You mentioned Grand Central Madison. Originally, when they built East Side Access or Grand Central Madison, they're supposed to have a Sunnyside station. That somehow disappeared.
Yeah, so you're talking about the Metro North projects in the Bronx.
Long Island Railroad, yeah.
So
that's
that's
have a
Metro
Sunnyside
North
station.
Right. So in both projects, in East Side Access, which is the Grand Central Madison, and the new Penn Station Access project, there is no Sunnyside station. I spoke to Congresswoman AOC about that because there's two stations we're trying to get built, one in Sunnyside and one in Elmhurst, in the new Congressman Meng's district. So that's now Congressman Meng's district, believe it or not, because of redistricting. So we're trying to get that going. That's been a back and forth issue, but we're hoping to get those federal funds. And it's all up to the elected officials. It's in their hands. We can only talk to them. But the problem is, guys, and this is what I want to say to all of you that are here tonight are our dedicated members. I can see this. Rana, Alan, Maria, Paul. So we have our advisory board that we're putting together, which Jack and I have been working on. And we need people, we need you guys to come in, be volunteers.
We'll definitely elaborate on that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Take it away, Jack. I'm sorry.
That's fine. But yeah, I did have one more question we could probably briefly touch on. And that is the governor's plan on transit-oriented development. I'm reading that according to the website, the New York Housing Compact will require that localities with rail stations run by the MTA that they undertake a local rezoning or higher density multifamily development within half a mile of the station unless they already meet the density level. If anyone wants to comment on that.
It's a horrible idea. See, Governor Kathy Hochul's just coming in. She doesn't know what she's
comment on that?
doing. Oh, yes. Go right ahead, Cassie. Take it away.
Hey, it's Karina. So I don't know. I think that's I feel like some communities in New York City have already been rezoned, and to require that it has to be within, is it a half mile or a mile?
It's a half a mile.
It's a half mile. So I mean, like for example, like Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn and in Queens already has been upzoned. So it's starting to come more now into the eastern part of Brooklyn, now into Queens, for properties that are like single story to be developed up to like 40 stories. So I don't know. I feel like now it's just really continuing the gentrification, especially in Brooklyn from articles that I read. So Jamaica Avenue already is rezoned for up to 40 stories. Bloomberg, that's the lasting legacy of Bloomberg, is that a lot of these business corridors already have been rezoned, upzoned. So, what more do you want? Do you want to eliminate, single family housing? Do you want it to be congested like Jackson Heights? Because that's what it seems like they want. And I don't know. That's all I'll say on that.
The Long Islanders are furious about this. They think they're going to turn Nassau County into the sixth borough of New York City by all this development and rezoning. If you read, there was an article I read about Hochul's proposal.
And one last comment that I have is that this actually feeds into Adam's plan. He wants to do changes to the land rezoning process for his rich developer friends. So Kathy Hochul was definitely working with him on this rezoning plan. So I'm very, we have to keep our eyes open, especially for those who are, don't want a 40-story building, in your backyard, because this is what is gonna be put forward by the city, is to push through these crazy rezonings. And the Adams administration is salivating. They're like, yeah, let's do this. So it's not all what it is. I don't think it's gonna be great. But one thing that I just came across, and it's not related so much, but that they want to do a Sands hotel casino in Long Island on the property of where the Coliseum is. Like they could put housing there. It's a basic vacant lot, but I digress.
Guys, I think this is a great conversation. I love this. I do want to say one thing which I forgot to mention: the Queens Link. This is very important infrastructure, and Riders Alliance came out in the New York Times, believe it or not, saying that they supported both the Queens Link and the Queens Way. So the Queens Way would just be like a trail. It would not be like a subway or any railway. It would be just be a trail for bikes. And most of the affluential people in Forest Hills and those communities support the Queens Way. However, the Queens Link would extend the M train from 63rd Drive all the way to Far Rockaway, and it would run there. That would be a game changer for transportation. You want to talk about equity? That's a project. So unfortunately, Riders Alliance is playing games. They've been in the New York Times. They came out for both projects. And we feel like, wait a minute, they didn't even come out to the ceremony. We were there. I know I spoke at the Queens Link ceremony and reception. We even hosted an open house for them at Passengers United. And they also celebrated Transit Equity Day today. They had 4 tables out there. So it's very important to tell our elected officials that we need the Queens Link. And Paul, take it away, because I know you got something to say. Paul.
The issue with the Queens Way is the original purpose of the Queens Way, people were advocating for it, was for bicycle paths. That was the main thing. But when the proposal came out a few months ago, which was in the Queens Chronicle, for the first phase of it, I noticed that I didn't see nothing at all about a bicycle path. All I saw was amenities that would actually be obstacles that could further stop the development of the rail line. I saw like baseball fields, bleachers, all type of things that could be impede. And they even had even to the west, they had another parkland, baseball field or softball field, whatever, that could stop a connection to even the Montauk line. So the project fully changed. There's nothing at all about a bicycle path there. Take a look at the first phase. There's nothing there about a bicycle path. It's all amenities that they want to put there. So I believe that a lot of politicians in Forest Hills got involved and deliberately changed the plan to suit their needs to stop the rail link. That's the main goal. That's why they're fighting for that first phase. Because once that first phase goes through, you think they really care about the second phase and the third phase? They really don't care. The damage is done. The rail link won't be issued. And this is why from the start, I never, I was a little bit against rail and trails because I knew it could get, if there's room for bicycle path, fine. You could put it there, Jason. And but I just think they're really taking advantage in that first phase with all the amenities they're putting there. So that's why I believe that now by them saying they support both, they really don't. They just
and this is why, guys, I keep saying you need organizations like Passengers United, who gets no corporate money. Nobody owns us. It's all of us who use the bus and subway speaking up. When you have organizations like Transportation Alternatives, Riders Alliance coming into the fray, and they're getting money from Uber and Lyft. And who owns the city bikes? Lyft does. So this is what's happening, guys. It's all money. And elected officials, I hate to say it, but it's money talks and other stuff walks. So I want to welcome Mark Holmes, who's joining us tonight. And this is his first time coming out to our meeting. Me and Mark and all of us, we went through the Jackson Heights bus redesign and all that stuff. Mark, welcome. Happy New Year. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Carlton. Charlton, really appreciate you inviting me on. Good to see some familiar names, Carl being one of them. How are you? And thank you to Passengers United. Yes, we've worked together now. Yes, I've, for those who don't know, I'm a former chief officer at the MTA. I'm now out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. I am the chief operating officer at Community Transit. However, I still support the work that Charlton is doing. Listen, admittedly, he and I over the years haven't seen eye to eye on things, but there has been always a healthy respect for the work that I do. That he had a healthy respect for the work that I do, and also me for the work that he does. I support fully 100%, 1,000%, all the way from across the country, the work that he and the Passengers United team is doing. And I'm just here to lend support. It's funny that you guys are talking about the Queens Link. I don't know if you know, but there is existing infrastructure provisions made in the current Queens Boulevard subway system to connect the subway to Queens Link. There's several actually. There's one just out between Roosevelt Avenue and Elmhurst Avenue. As a matter of fact, there's an upper level terminal at Roosevelt Avenue that was supposed to serve those Rockaway trains. There's a cutout underneath a park across the street from Elmhurst Hospital, that park under which lies the track bed to go out to the Rockaways. It stub ends just underneath that park on Broadway across from Elmhurst Hospital. There are also cutouts at between 63rd Drive and 67th Avenue that was also supposed to connect to that link. It was all part of the IND's second system. Really a lot of history there. Like I said, I would like to throw my weight behind the effort to revive that line for rail service. I think it's a home run. Very happy to hear about the Interborough Express. Also a home run. Again, very, very happy about that. And from what I understand, the Queens redesign final draft is nearing its release. Schedules are being written as we speak. Some adjustments have been made. I took a look at it recently, and while I'm not at liberty to say here in this forum what we're looking at, I think some of the concerns, especially the concerns in Southeast Queens, that I know this organization has raised, were addressed. I know there was some current concerns about Queens Village Station to Hillside Avenue. I know there were some concerns about the Q110 bus, the Q36, the Q1. I know a lot of I know a lot of that from my time back there, and I've been following. Like I said, even though I'm not part of the MTA anymore, I still follow it. My heart is still back east, and that's pretty much all I have to say. I just want to sit and listen to the conversation. And Charlton, anytime you need me, I'm always here for you. We can argue back and forth anytime you want. So it's great to see you.
Oh, no, you're great. Mark braved the crowds. I mean, the way people were screaming at Mark at the meetings, I was like, whoa. And people have to understand, this was all the stuff, Mark was just there talking to the community and he was listening. Mark's a good listener and he's got a lot of patience. I'll say that. I'll give him props on that. There was one thing, Mark, I wanted to bring up, if I can.
Sure.
Is I'm hoping and praying that there's a bus route from Long Island Jewish Hospital to that stops along the the main Queens thoroughfares like Jamaica, Hillside, Linden, and then Merrick, and then goes to Far Rockaway. Because people are saying there needs to be a bus for the hospital workers over there in Queens, that stretch that goes to Great Neck, because right now to go from Southeast Queens, from Far Rockaway to LIJ in New Hyde Park, you have to take four buses.
From Southeast Queens currently, yeah, it's probably about that, including a trip into Jamaica.
Right.
To get back out there. So yeah, for sure. I know that the Queens redesign addressed it with the Springfield Boulevard crosstown somewhat, which would cut some of that time down a little bit. And I know the Q43 is proposed to go in there. That was in the draft plan. But like I said, I agree. My mother years ago used to work in LIJ and took the bus there. Ultimately, she drove because it's impossible to get there. from Laurelton, where I grew up. So if the final plan comes out and there is not a provision for LIJ, I suggest, and pardon my French, you raise hell about it. So I will say that. The Springfield Q, I forgot what the number is, but the Springfield Boulevard north-south crosstown helps a lot. But from what I understand, that does not go to LIJ. There's now an end-to-end Bayside to Springfield Gardens crosstown that will be on Springfield. Like I said, that's a game changer. That will help.
Yeah, that'll help. Of course, anything that could help. But I also feel like maybe they need to, because I know at the end there by the airport, by Conduit, they have that route that goes to Far Rockaway. So in some ways, it'll turn it down to like 2 or 3 buses instead of 5.
Right,
which,
right.
You know,
and at least you don't have to go into Jamaica.
Right, because a lot of people were telling me when they get taken by ambulance, you know, when they have heart attacks and stuff, everyone goes to LIJ now for Southeast Queens. It's either there or it's the other hospital in Elmont.
Correct.
The N25
which is part of
runs.
LIJ. Correct. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Right.
Right, but there's also one by the Southern State.
Correct. That's the one. That's the one. That's LIJ Franklin Square or something like
Franklin Square. Everyone's getting taken there. So people have been asking me for this route, and we have a lot of hospital workers. So I'll bring that up to them. The only thing, the big concern for us is we don't want to lose that Q88 from Queens Village to Elmhurst. Everyone's begging me. They're like, keep the 88, keep the 88. And
Right.
that route runs really well. I mean, it has some issues with Christmas in the mall, but
Well, that comes with the territory. You're going to a mall, so you're going to get, congestion there at Queens Mall and at Green Acres as well. So yeah, that comes with the territory.
And we did have a meeting with Nice Bus. We actually toured their bus command center. For those of you who don't know,
nice.
I went on a tour 2 weeks ago. I think Paul came with me as well. And Paul saw the command center, the equipment that they have. And I know Transit is getting the new command center up and running with the new radios.
That was going on when I left. We had just started transitioning to the new command center. When I left, they were still working out some bugs with the new radio system. I'm pretty sure it's still a work in progress. But yeah, they're moving slowly to touring that. I've never toured the Nice Bus Command Center. So
if you want to, I can talk to Erica. Yeah, Erica, I'm sure Erica will take you.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll take you on a tour.
Yeah,
It's really nice.
Next time I'm through there, I'd love to see it.
What I liked about their command center, and I understand New York City Transit's getting the same technology as Nice Bus, is the fact that they can see, like, if a bus's oil needs changing, it sends an alert.
Right. No, I think we're getting that kind of same thing. Where it can tell, it can report malfunctions or any other mechanical issues right away, so that they can be addressed before the bus breaks down and is out of service. Yeah, so absolutely.
And they also have the passenger counting loads where you can see how many people are. They also have the images of where the dispatchers are with the little icons throughout the system, throughout the maps.
Right. The newer MTA buses have the counters on them too. We call them APCs, automated passenger counters. Those are on mostly buses from 2018 forward. Those all have counters on them. If the bus is blue and gold, there's a good chance it has passenger counters on it.
Oh, and Mark, did you want to talk about Equity Day? Because I know equity means a lot to you. Mark has been working really hard on equity for the communities. And this is about Rosa Parks today, Transit Equity Day.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's definitely near and dear to my heart. I grew up taking the buses from, as I said, from Laurelton and Rosedale. The Q5A became the Q85, and that has been my bus. And yes, equity is important. It's part of a whole federal mandate called Title VI as well, that transit agencies must adhere to and what Title VI does, it ensures that no one group has been adversely impacted more so than another as a result of a service change. And this redesign is a perfect example of that. The MTA has to make sure that whatever they do to Southeast Queens, they're not more impacted than Northeast Queens, for example. So everything has to be, it's a federal mandate as far as Title VI is concerned. Also, however, it is really, really important that, I don't want to say less, it's important that communities of color, whether you're Black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever the case may be, make your voice known, okay? If you have to write a letter, submit, just make sure your voice is heard. It's very important. The MTA is working on a very strict budget when it comes to the redesigns. The Bronx, you saw the Bronx redesign. It was not nearly as ambitious as a lot of folks up there would have liked. We wanted more interborough service between the Bronx and Queens and the Bronx and Manhattan, and we didn't get it, driven by the budget. I don't know if Charlton, you got to take a look at the Brooklyn draft plan. Same thing there, same dynamic. Looks like tweaks. I know there's a nice B55, the Church Avenue bus that now goes into JFK Airport. Love that. But, you know, from a personal perspective, where is Park Slope to Manhattan? Where's a bus through the Hugh Carey Tunnel, a local service to get folks into Lower Manhattan, forcing everyone onto a subway?
We spoke about night owl bus service from Manhattan to Brooklyn. That's been my #1 complaint. Same thing with Queens, because every time I mention bus service, the MT keeps telling me, "Oh, there's adequate subway service." I said,
right,
okay,
yeah, that's exactly what they lean on. And don't worry, they tell me that too when I was there. They're like, "Oh, well, we have the subway." Well, you know, folks don't like the subway. I'm digressing a little bit in that budget is overruling the needs of the people, kind of, and that's an unfortunate thing. And it's important that when you do lay eyes on this draft plan, the final, I should say, in Queens.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the final draft plan in Queens. Let's just say, keep applying the pressure. Don't let that word final intimidate you or make you back off. All right. Don't accept anything less than what you feel the communities need. The hospital service is a good example of that.
I think one thing for us, Mark, that's on the table, that is a must-have on the table, is keeping the Q60 or keeping a bus that's going from Manhattan through Queens overnight. And, you know, something for senior citizens have to have that service. They have to be served.
I can tell you that the Q60 is staying.
And the 32.
That I can tell you. That route is staying put. A few others are staying as is, but that could be a problem. So we just have to see how you guys feel about it. I can also say the 88 is staying as is.
Yes, praise the Lord.
So yeah, I know the initial draft plan had the Q88 just staying on Horace Harding end to end, which is good. I mean, there is a case for that. I mean, it allows for connectivity from Little Neck to Elmhurst, but the community really wanted that route to pretty much stay as is. And I can tell you that is the case for since you brought it up, for the final plan. The Q88.
That's good.
The Q88 I saw it staying as is. So, but yeah, examples such as the Q88 or the Q60, those are why you guys can't give up and you have to continue to apply the pressure. Don't let the MTA hide behind that budget, all right? Because that's what's happening. The Queens draft plan was very ambitious, had some good elements in it. I thought it could use some improvement, but listen, I pretty much drew that entire draft plan myself, essentially. It was ambitious, and the budget knocked a lot of it down. So take a look at it. Tell me what you think, but beyond me, tell them what you think too. That's very important. But yeah, getting back to equity, I want to say that it is really, really important. And Charlton, I see your posts every day, that you get out amongst those communities. I keep bringing up Southeast Queens, but also Jackson Heights, very vocal community. But you have to make sure that they are continue to be engaged at what's coming down with some of these changes in the final plan. So they have to have a voice, and you have been a great voice for the voiceless, and definitely keep it up. But yeah, very important to me as far as equity.
It's tough, being an advocate, and we're all volunteers. You can ask Jack, our vice president, and our new vice president, David. David's been around for a couple of years now, I think 10, 15 years doing organizing. We're working very hard on no money. We're all volunteers. We're all people driven, but we're going up against some very powerful lobbying groups with a lot of money. And, so this is where equity comes in. And this is where the real stuff comes in, the dark stuff that people don't want to talk about in life. But, Mark, you've been a good advocate for the community in Southeast Queens. And if you don't mind me asking, what made you get into transportation? How did you get into transportation? And what's the advice for young people listening to this, and how can they get involved?
Keep at it. That's my advice. It's very, very stay engaged also. When I was young growing up, back in the early 80s, I guess, we didn't have these kind of forums. Since I was little, loved buses. I loved to ride buses. I loved transit. I loved the subways. I loved everything. It was my intention I didn't know anything else. I'm a kid, so I wanted to be a bus driver. That's what I wanted to be. And I never became that. I started my career as a traffic checker, of all things, working part-time. So I was making $7 an hour when I started in 1987 in January. My anniversary just passed last week. And yeah, that's what I did. I counted heads on the buses and subways, and just continued along from there through my career, progressing through operations planning, where I worked in subway schedules initially, and then I wrote bus schedules. I was the schedule manager for Jamaica Depot for about 8 or 9 years, until I transitioned to MTA Bus, where I was first director of scheduling, and then became the chief officer of operations planning, during which time I met you guys. So my advice to anyone, there are a lot of kids who are like me right now, who love transit, love to get out there and take pictures, and bus fan and rail fan, just like I did. Keep at it. Follow your dreams, and don't give up, and just stay in touch and stay looped in. I was very much just like some of these young kids out right now. I couldn't get enough transit information. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to keep at it. It's a great career. I wouldn't have done it any differently. I had a blast over at New York City Transit from day one all the way to when I left last year. So it's still a part of me. I still bleed blue and gold, and it's really something that I really cherish. So yeah, from simple beginnings to now, never give up. Keep at it.
Yeah, I took the conductor's test. Oh man, I took it in 2000 for New York City Transit.
Right.
And yeah, I think my list number was 2,515 or something like that.
It's
So
not a bad list number. Yeah, that's pretty good.
yeah, and I was hoping they were going to call me. I was studying that book for months. I was reading that book. I was asking the conductors all the questions, you know. So yeah, that's transit for you. Transit's a great opportunity, you know, for families, middle class, especially Southeast Queens. And I'm sorry we're talking about Southeast Queens, guys, but this is equity.
This is David. I took the conductor exam. I aced it. I failed the physical.
Ah, hi, David. How you doing?
Good to see you. Good to see
All
you.
right.
Glad that you're in the Seattle area.
Yes, absolutely.
Helping
Good to see you too. All right. Somebody just asked about the Q101, and I don't know what the change. I know it's not going to Brooklyn. That I do know, but I'm not sure what they did. I can't remember every route, but yeah, I think the first iteration we had of the 101 was to go crosstown all the way down Steinway Street to Sunnyside, and then into Brooklyn. I'm not sure what the final plan is though, but it's not doing that. That I can safely say.
Okay, because I know the Brooklyn bus redesign plan now, they have it going all the way down to parts of Brooklyn, I think Greenpoint.
It was, I think, Williamsburg. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
It was Williamsburg.
that's Q88, Q68.
Q68. Yeah. So I'm not sure what it is right now. I don't have it now.
So Mark, you know, I was hoping. So in California, how are the buses different? Because I know in California, right? That's where I'm assuming you're at.
No, he's in
No, I'm in Seattle. I'm in the
Seattle,
Pacific Northwest.
Oh, Seattle.
Website communitytransit.org.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Seattle, how is it? Because I know a lot of people that depend on buses, right? And how is the infrastructure different from New York?
Oh, first of all, they're very bus dependent out here, especially down in the city in Seattle. I'm just north of Seattle in Snohomish County, but it's a very interesting and very intriguing bus network. When I visited here back in 2014, I was really taken by it is a really it's New York level bus service out here. It's a much smaller fleet, but they provide a lot of service. As far as the infrastructure is concerned, there are a lot of trolley coaches here. All of their buses are clean buses. They're either electric trolley buses that have the pantograph poles on overhead wires here. And every other bus is CNG, compressed natural gas. That's King County Metro. Our bus fleet is all clean diesel up here. We had a similar trajectory community transit did as MTA, as New York City Transit. They had a bunch of hybrid buses in the early 2000s. Those buses did not perform well. Just like the buses here in there in New York, didn't perform well either. The hybrid coaches in New York didn't do very well. And that's why they moved away from hybrid technology at around 2011. And for the next almost 10 years, they went with diesel buses in New York at the MTA. It wasn't until the 2021 bus order that we started that the MTA started receiving a huge bus order of hybrid buses. The same dynamic happened out here, where those hybrids did not perform well. They went diesel for a long time out here. And when I started, I have to say that we had a procurement out for 2024, and those were going to be diesels again. I insisted that yes, there has been advances in hybrid technology. We should make a transition out here to hybrids, and that would help us with our goal of transitioning to an all green fleet right around the same time frame as the MTA in the late 2030s to 2040, have an all electric fleet. But the two major bus agencies out here are King County Metro. They're the big dogs out here. They're down in Seattle. They also operate the light rail, which is branded as Sound Transit, but it's operated by Community Transit. That's a whole nother discussion. There are Sound Transit Express buses here also that are operated that are contracted out to Community Transit, King County Metro, and Pierce Transit. So there's a lot of intertwined bus relationships out here. But one thing I will say, they are very committed to clean diesel and electric buses here. And we're doing our work to transition to a zero emissions fleet here, just as the work is taking place back in New York at the MTA as well. So I know that Jamaica Depot in Queens is going to be rebuilt, and the major feature there is that it is going to be the first depot in New York to accommodate a 100% electric bus fleet. So I know they were excited about that. They haven't broken ground yet. I don't know why, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, to answer your question, it's very centered on clean diesel between trolley coaches, CNG buses, and now hybrid technology.
Oh, and I know now, I don't know if you're aware, but the Jamaica bus terminal is.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that last week.
And they're moving in front of the 103rd precinct, but the
Yeah.
street's a little narrow there. So, the community was concerned about that, but
Rightfully
Equity
so.
Day.
Rightfully so. There you go. Oh, you know what? I missed. Oh, that I very nice. Hey, I misspoke just now. King County Metro is hybrid, not CNG.
Oh,
They're all hybrid, not CNG.
So you remember this, right? Back in the
mine was even older than that. I had just a green or yellow or whatever the color of the month was. That was my pass.
Did
Plus
you go
a
to
nickel.
Andrew Jackson
Plus a
High
nickel.
School or no?
What's that?
You went to Andrew Jackson or Bayside?
No, I went to Van Buren.
Oh, Van Buren. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I went to Andrew Jackson. I was on the Q77.
Right. 70. I was on the 43.
Wow.
And the Q5A back then. Yeah.
I think the big concern everyone has in talking about transit equity is the city ticket, because it's $5. And I spoke to the MT. I told them they should make it $3.75, only
Should make
because
it
of those long
$2.75,
commutes.
really. Right.
And they're working on that. I know the governor approved the $5 city ticket fare for rush hours, but we're trying to get that. But going back to the Jamaica bus terminal, because I think that is about equity, and I don't want to, I just feel like they're spending so much of money, but the new terminal is not a building structure. They're just building these little islands with bus shelters, and I feel they could do better for Southeast Queens. That's my personal opinion. I think I'm speaking on behalf of Passengers United.
I think you know what it is, Charlton. I think they have to move fast, though. I think they have to do something real quick because they're getting the boot out of there, and they really have to move fast. And that was one of the projects I was working on when I left, and they just kept kicking the can down the road in terms of selecting a suitable location. Now, as whether it's human nature or whatever, you waited till the last minute and now you have to move. And that's why it looks like it's such a quick fix in a less than optimal situation over there by the 103 precinct. I don't know how they're going to coexist with the police parking over there.
We already spoke to the police. They're concerned.
Where are they going to park?
There's only 20 spots allocated to the NYPD, but that's only for RMPs, the personal police, the NYPD cruisers. But in terms of the personal cars of the officers, and the DMV parking lot is lost for Division of Motor Vehicles and for the employment office up there in Maze, where Maze used to be, where the department store is. Everyone's concerned. I reached out to Senator Comrie's office and everyone, and we told them what they could do is just have the buses, maybe separate some of the buses, have them go down Hillside, further down to Supton.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. I don't think all of the routes that terminate in there now are terminating in the new terminal. I don't think.
Yeah, they are. That's what it said in the thing.
Are they really?
Yeah,
Oh,
unfortunately.
wow. Yeah, that's a lot, man. I don't know if yeah, okay. Okay.
It was a shock to me. I spoke to Nassau County Express,
Mhm.
and they're building bus bays to have the Arctics going in. If they rebuild the streets over there, it'll work. But the problem is they'd have to have a traffic agent to mitigate the buses going in and out of there, and we don't know how DOT is going to work that out with the NYPD.
That's a nightmare. I'll tell you that right now. That's a nightmare. They would have to make 168th Street a busway.
Right. I told the chairman this.
That's what you're gonna have to do.
You know, he did one thing. I will commend the MT chairman. He did tell me they're going to have us and talk to us about concerns. But my thing was, you know, when Tom Savage became MT Bus Company president, when the
Right.
bus
Yeah,
company
that
was
was when it was first formed. Yeah.
I spoke at a meeting, and I remember Tom Savage came up to me and he shook my hand and he said, "Thank you," because I had mentioned building a new bus terminal for 165th Street back in 2006, 2007.
Right.
So we were thinking about this way back. And this
No,
is
I know it's been a conversation for a number of years.
And they
So-
kept telling me DOT owned the terminal. And what I wanted clarification on from Senator Comrie and from City Councilwoman Natasha Williams, why would DOT sell the terminal to a private developer and there was no guarantees to protect the bus terminal?
Right. DOT didn't own the bus terminal. I mean, unless they sold, they don't own it now, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's horrible what happened. But, you know, we're working and we're trying to do the best we can. I think the solution for the MTA would just be to have some of the buses, instead of wasting those millions of dollars and building a facility, which they're going to have to probably break down in a few years, why not just have the buses go to the air train station, have some on Jamaica, some go down Hillside,
Right.
and run it that way?
The air train station is pretty busy now as it is.
Yeah, that's true too. Yep.
The Q10 is there and the B15, which will be the B55, I guess. So yeah, it's there's so much. You know what? It's a shame. There's no space dedicated to transit. Transit has to shoehorn themselves in to find there's just no room for anything. And that's a shame. I mean, one of the keys to the redesigns was to, you know, enable the buses to move faster and give the buses a chance. But it just doesn't seem as if for the Bronx and Brooklyn, the Bronx, I don't see it. It's the same as it's always been.
Well, the Bronx was a mess because I had to go to the Patterson houses, and I don't know if you saw the video, and we had to get the bus stop restored at the Patterson houses out there.
Oh yeah. Great job with that. Great job.
And it was Clarissa. You know, she started it, and then we came in and we helped her. You know, and
you know what? I will say this too. I mean, the MTA they're pretty responsive. If you build up a good case for the need to put a bus stop back, they will absolutely work with DOT to make that happen. You're going to have some bus stops that are going to be missing here. You guys aren't going to like, I'm pretty sure. Nobody likes to lose a bus stop. But then again, at the same time, nobody likes a bus stopping every block either once they're on the bus. So it's really a delicate balance there in terms of bus stop, you know, placement and all that stuff. So that's always a fight. It's been a fight since the Staten Island Express redesign. The express buses in Queens also, nothing has changed there. The expresses, nothing's eliminated except the QM3.
The QM5 route.
Yeah, that's the only one that's eliminated.
Everyone's getting the QM5. The bus drivers are begging me, please do something about this route. I was actually on the QM5 a couple of times last week, and
I don't think it's going to go to Union Turnpike anymore. I think it's getting on the expressway at 188th Street.
Yes, praise the Lord, hallelujah. Because no bus driver wants to do that run because it goes through the complex over there. But the problem was some of these routes were outdated. Why the MP?
Yeah, there were years since the early 70s, those routes were created. Yeah, so yeah, you're talking a long time now. 50 years those routes have been created. So they needed
For those of you who don't know how the QM5 works, So the QM5 goes down it goes down 73rd Avenue, then it goes down, it makes a loop on 188th Street, goes to the LIE, then it turns back and it goes on Union Turnpike, then it goes all the way down Union Turnpike, only to go on Queens Boulevard to get back on the LIE. And that's where it messes up because it gets stuck in that traffic over there.
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, granted, the LIE is no picnic from 188th Street either. But at the same time, it's much better to have the QM5 go down 73rd Avenue, make a stop at Fresh Meadows at 188th and 64th Avenue, and then get on to the LIE. Much quicker service there.
And even if there's traffic on the LIE, they can still go down Horace Harding because the 88 does it.
It can still do that. It can still do that. On really bad days, it can stay on the Horace Harding. I'm also happy to let you know that I checked this myself, that express bus from Merrick Boulevard to Wall Street is still on the plan. So that's another good thing. I can say.
But do they need it now because of Atlantic ticket?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. But it's a 1-seat ride to Lower Manhattan. So we'll see. I don't know. Have you guys ridden the railroad to Grand Central yet?
Yes, I will be.
That next time I'm in town. Okay, yeah, I have to do that. But yeah, I was disappointed I didn't get a chance to ride it in December. I was hoping they would have it ready, but guess not. But yeah,
there's some issues with it already because you have to walk up the way the escalators are designed. It's a few minute walk from there into Grand Central Terminal.
How long does it take you to transfer from the railroad to the 4 train?
A good 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes. Wow. Okay.
Because it's so deep, and then the problem is the way the mezzanines are situated. I mean, I walk fast, but the problem is the layout's very confusing. The signs are very hard to see, and so. But it's going through an orientation phase now. So I would say to everyone, let's give it a few months. Let's get used to it.
Sure.
And it'll break in. And the only thing I want clarification on is if the Amtrak goes on strike, does the MTA, and I asked the chairman this, does the MTA, will they still be able to run trains through Harrow Interlocking to access the Grand Central terminals to go into Grand Central? Because
I would say based on my knowledge, yes. But that's a good question. That's an excellent question, I think. But then again, you can't run that volume of service into Grand Central that you do at Penn Station because there are only 4 tracks.
Right.
So you're kind of limited as to what you can do. So let's hope they don't have to cross that bridge anytime soon.
Yeah, because that is concerning. And they said they would get back to me on that question. But yeah, everything's good at the MTA. The only issue we're having on our buses, which is an equity issue, is bus number 8020. I was on it.
That's a 2010 Nova. That bus is already going on 13 years old now.
We had
what's wrong with
it? They took the Queens Village buses and they sent it to the Bronx, and the Bronx used it, but they didn't clean them. It came back to Queens Village Bus Depot, and I was on the bus and screaming roaches all over the bus.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if you can blame the Bronx for that, but it's a thing, unfortunately, that happens. I know that, they get reports of that and they attack it right away, obviously. Even worse when bed bugs, we had a bed bug infestation in the Bronx, and that got handled. The bus pulled out and they fumigated the entire fleet up there. But yeah, I saw that post a few weeks ago about bus 8020. Has that been addressed? Have you? By the way, the General Superintendent of Transportation, Gia Harrison, at Queens Village, she retired. So I want to wish her well. She was a great partner when I was there as well. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So did they address that for you?
They told me they did, but a couple of bus drivers have told me they saw roaches crawling. But you know what it also could be? I think because we've had a warm winter, when you turn on the heating systems,
Mhm.
they start crawling out of the heating systems, right?
Disgusting. Yeah, 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 for sure. QV, well, they should have a pretty much an all new fleet now. I mean, because they got rid of those troubles, the hybrids I was just talking about. Those are ones that were poor performers. 6800s, I believe they were, and those are now gone.
No, Baisley Park on the Q110 still has some of them.
Yeah, they have some 3700 series and 36. Yeah, they used to have a couple.
And we're hoping, but Queens Village Depot has come a long way. It's improved. I think the problem is just the traffic and the interlining runs creating problems.
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. But you talk about equity, that the depots also Queens Village serves a basically minority community, as does Jamaica Depot as well. So and Baisley Park.
Baisley Park.
So those three are crucial to service in the community in Southeast Queens. And we have to make sure that the fleets in those three depots,
and also JFK
stuff. And JFK, yes, JFK is definitely a part of that as well. So yeah, totally agree with you in terms of the equity and making sure those depots that serve Southeast Queens, those fleets are up to snuff. Jamaica for a long time had the newest fleet in the system. I'm not sure if that's the case now with the influx of new buses all over the city, but for a couple of years, Jamaica had the newest fleet in the entire system. So they tried. I mean, I kind of twisted some arms to make sure.
I think the bus service is doing pretty good. I mean, I've been riding the buses for 20, 30 years. I know. So the service has gotten much cleaner. The new buses with the new screens and the buses come frequent. But I've noticed like the Q2 now, and I don't want to make this about Southeast Queens because there's other communities like Brooklyn, South Brooklyn that's getting affected.
Absolutely.
The parts of Co-op City where they're having issues with the Q50 and that whole thing with the Bronx bus redesign, because a lot of poor people live in Co-op City.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost the 50.
It's the biggest senior population, probably, I think, in the United States, I believe. It's the biggest influx of seniors in one community in the United States.
And the 50 used to go in there. Now the Q50 doesn't go in there. And
only during peak hours.
Peak hours. I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah. Right. But that was the big issue. And then the other issue people had asked me, the Q50 doesn't run overnight. No. They wanted one bus, an hour. So you have something between Queens and, the Bronx. But
yeah, totally agree.
But do you see night owl bus? Because New York City is a night owl. I mean, it's a 24-hour city. Other cities have night owl bus service, like Los Angeles, Chicago, even Philadelphia has night owl bus service.
I don't think every
DC
route
does.
Not every route in those cities. And I think especially in Brooklyn, I think most of those routes in Brooklyn run 24 hours. Not so in Staten Island, the Bronx doesn't either. Bronx doesn't have a lot of 24-hour routes. I think the Bronx, you can count the 24 hours. I think it's less than 10 in the Bronx run 24 hours. Brooklyn, yes. And Queens is maybe half.
And see, that's where equity comes into play because the Ubers and Lyfts are making money when people could be taking buses,
Right. Right.
And then the Q51, people were asking me about the Q51 traveling along Springfield. One of the things I wanted the 51 to do when it turns off Linden is go to Springfield to Queens Village LIRR, so it could provide more connections over there.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, that Q51 was my baby also. I drew that one. It was response to folks wanting a crosstown connection from Eastern Queens to Central Queens and maybe even to Brooklyn. But yeah, that's not a bad idea at all, especially if Queens Village will be the depot to operate that route. It would only make sense, for sure.
I think that would be a great idea because the way they have it now ending at Linden, they have it ending at Springfield and Linden.
That's where it's ending, yes.
So I'm thinking maybe they might give that to Baisley Park or something, maybe.
It might,
but-
it up to 3 depots can operate that. Baisley, yeah, up to 3 depots can operate it. Baisley, Jamaica, and QV. But I think it makes sense either at QV or Baisley.
But I think that's great. That's going to be a game changer for people because, that's always been a hardship. But the way they have the 51 going, it doesn't connect with the B80, the bus that goes down Kings Highway to Coney Island.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it stops short of there. I mean, it would be better if the B82 is what you're referring to. If that can come over to Gateway Mall instead of sending the 51 over there to Starrett City. Yeah.
But I mean, the buses are
guys,
getting
you
better.
continue along. I'm going to jump off for a minute. I'll be right back. I'll take a phone call.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, guys. We have this stuff. So this has just been excellent. And I just want to. Can all of you hear me?
Yes, we can. I was just going to say that I know that it is getting late, but I did want to share, if you're still here, how to get involved with Passengers United. We are the leading mass transit advocates in New York. So if you want to apply, we do have several open positions, and these are all volunteer positions. Remember, we are all volunteers at Passengers United. So here's how to get involved. All you have to do is go to passengersunited.org/apply. That is the website, and you'll see here that there are 2 open executive team positions. We are looking for someone who can cover Nassau County, and we are also looking for a new vice president of accessibility. And all of the responsibilities are listed. And we also are looking for general volunteers. We're looking for an event volunteer or team leader. We have 30 slots open for that. Project volunteers or team leaders. We have 10 slots open for that, as well as our ADA task force, which we'll follow up on. We have 25 open slots for that. And of course, we are also welcoming student leaders, student interns as well. And if you're interested, feel free to apply. It's on our website as well. Or we have our phone number. That's 929-235-8680 for more information.
Charlton, can I ask you a question as relates to your, opportunities for students? I know we talked about that, previously. Are you guys engaging with some of the local high schools in the city to try to encourage, some, students to maybe even pursue careers in transit or at least be involved with promoting transit?
Jack, I know Jack's been working really hard on creating school assemblies about transportation industry in general.
Yeah, well, what I was doing is we do have a subway safety initiative. It's called Subway Safety Second. And we've already been posting stuff on our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. We are posting short videos as well. And I'm currently in the middle of working on a school assembly program.
Awesome. That is so huge. Great job, guys.
And one of the things we want to do, because one of the things growing up, when I was growing up in high school, nobody spoke to us about civil service job opportunities and to take the exam. And I think a lot of young people don't know they can go to the library, get the civil service books, study the civil service books, and they don't have to pay a fee to a company to get this. Because a lot of times these companies rip them off, and they have to understand the civil service, how it works, how the list process works, how the testing works with DCAS, the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, and just the opportunities in working in transit. Because a lot of us, came from transit families and all this stuff, and transit really has had a big impact on all of our lives. So I think it's very important, especially for people of color. And one of the things that, this has just been my personal observation, I feel like there needs to be more of us represented because with Passengers United, we're represented in the advocacy community, but I also feel like on the board and also in management, there needs to be more of us stepping in front and graduating with college degrees and masters and, just getting in there in management.
Mhm.
Because I think that's how we change equity. When we're running the show, when we're running things, we can then speak up for our communities.
Exactly. Ultimately, it's everyday commuters, the people speaking up for everyday commuters.
Right. But Mark, did you have any ideas in hand or?
In terms of involving young folks, young people?
Yeah, because when you were growing up, I mean, was transportation even talked about when you were growing up?
Of course not. No, of course not. So, so that's exactly why I asked. I know that the MTA, New York City Transit, has a relationship with Transit Tech High School, but which has been absolutely fantastic during the time that relationship has. I've toured the school a couple of times. It's great, but for folks for programs such as transit advocacy, I think it is a great way to introduce kids to transit, to not only careers in transit, but to learn how decisions are made, learn the importance of equity, even if they don't have a career in transit. Having an idea on how urban planning and transit planning intersect and interact could help shape the future of a lot of our young people in the city and throughout the country. I think it's big.
And there's a lot of money now being pumped into transportation. It's become a big issue. Everyone's talking about equity now around the country. If you look at Amtrak and you look at the projects that the Biden administration is putting into New York with the tunnel funding and stuff like that, and if you look at Nassau County, they've got all new buses coming in. 80% of their fleet now is brand new.
Oh boy, I wish the MTA still ran that, because as soon as that went private, so did the service.
Exactly. The service is horrible.
Yeah. So
Erica knows.
Yeah, it's because they didn't want to ante up, and the MTA rightfully pulled out, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's really unfortunate.
And what do you think about Greyhound? Because we get a lot of complaints about Greyhound.
I think they're in some financial woes too, right? They're barely hanging on themselves. The what do you call it? The flexi buses and all of the other budget bus lines, one of which they own, has been really, taking, they've taken a hit as a result of those budget bus lines and other alternative travel options as well. Their quality of service has, gone down the drain as well. So yeah, very unfortunate, especially given the fact that, we all grew up taking Greyhound at one point or another, to see where they are now. Yeah.
I had a question. A question came in about with the bus redesigns, right? Do you see a possibility of giving a third bus transfer? And do you think that would work?
Yes.
In certain communities?
Yes. Yeah. In a case where, as a result of the redesign, a connection went from a simple transfer and another one has to be added, they will allow for that third leg of a free transfer in the rare instances that has happened as a result of a redesign. So the answer to the question is yes, but even beyond that, I would like to see them make some progress with all door boarding. I think the reason why they're a little bit hesitant for that is the rampant fare evasion that I don't think they've really gotten a handle on. And that's really been unfortunate, because it's continuing over there, where they're really taking a hit with fare evasion, and have to find some strategies to combat that.
Yeah, fare evasion's out of control. I see kids
That's
getting on the
crazy.
buses, even on the express buses. People are not paying. It's crazy. I see people coming on, and but the express buses,
Oh,
you
look at
know,
Alan Rosen. Alan is here.
yeah, Alan's there.
Oh, cool.
We've had
Speaking of-
low ridership on a lot of express buses, and people are saying it's because of the routing and it's because it's very slow. The speed limits have reduced now on express buses. And is that because of the 25-mile speed limit or?
Yeah, that I'm not sure. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
that
I
I'm not
mean,
sure.
because I know people have, like Staten Island, the express buses there go really fast. They get you in the city in like 20 minutes.
Right.
You know, the Sim 13C, it goes really fast.
And that's thanks to the bus lanes and bus priority from deep in Staten Island over the bridge and onto the Gowanus, straight into the tunnel. It's a beautiful thing.
So do you think they should do that for the LIE as well?
We have had those conversations for years. The infrastructure on the LIE is different from that on the Staten Island Expressway, and the Alan could probably talk to that, speaking of Alan Rosen, because that's been a conversation on the LIE for years. It's unfortunate that the HOV lanes ends at the city line. There was talk about extending that contraflow bus lane to at least the Grand Central Van Wyck interchange. That died on the vine. So it really, there really needs to be some kind of infrastructure improvements on the LIE to speed up express bus service. The current contraflow lane from Maspeth into the tunnel, it helps, but it's nowhere near as efficient and as fast as the Gowanus Staten Island Expressway, the I-280-278 combo that runs right into the Hugh Carey Tunnel. So
And
yeah,
do you
I
feel
agree
like
with you. We need that.
Queens Boulevard does not have a bus lane coming from Manhattan to parts of Southeast Queens?
No, that's another one. that's another one. You can just shrug your shoulders. The Queens Boulevard in the evening is a crawl, for express buses between the bridge and the LIE, and even beyond that, all the way down to Kew Gardens.
Right.
Yeah, it's when you're taking the X63, 68, 64. Yeah, it just bring a book. You'll be on there for a while.
I have a
And that's
question.
unfortunate.
So we have a question that came in, and the question is, with the Bronx bus redesign, what were some of the routes that you think could have really had an impact? And the new routes, were there any things that could have been better in the Bronx?
I advocated for, a Western Bronx to LaGuardia Airport kind of thing, extending the BX41 to LaGuardia. Those are arguments that I lost, citing subway connections, being you can just take the 4 train to 125th Street and then the M60 across. I would have liked to have seen improved interborough connections from the Bronx. To start with, though, I thought the Bronx had a pretty solid network to begin with, even before the redesign. What they needed to improve upon was their, like I said, interborough connections, or even connections to a major hub to the north of the Bronx in New Rochelle or even Yonkers. Those opportunities weren't leveraged, and unfortunately, those didn't happen either.
Oh, you're talking to Empire City Casino, that route?
Yeah, up there, and I forgot the name of someone can help me out. The shopping
Yonkers
center.
Raceway.
Yeah, Yonkers Raceway, that's on the Yonkers side. But yeah, those are easy connections. I've never been an advocate for ending a route at the city line, just because it's the city line. The Bronx Westchester city line over at Katona Avenue, we're ending the couple of routes at 34, 31, and 16 in the middle of nowhere, really. You're not doing
Oh, they
anyone
could have gone up
any
to Central Avenue by the gas station over there.
Exactly. I mean, the same thing on Riverdale Avenue on that Broadway. Just because the city ends there doesn't necessarily mean the bus route has to end there. Same thing in Queens with the Q43 or the Q4. Yeah, why are we doing that? We finally, had the Q46 now go over to LIJ some couple decades ago, but that was long overdue. Same thing with the Q5 to Green Acres. Just because the city ends doesn't mean a bus route has to end. And that's why I would have liked to have seen in the Bronx some more, inter-county or inter-borough connections.
Right. And then the other question we have is about the Q9, Q41 combination. Somebody wanted to know, is that going to still be kept intact or?
I think, well, the Q9 was just going down to South Ozone Park, if I understand. It's going to be extended a little bit beyond Rockaway Boulevard, which I think it should have been done. So I like
the
that.
route is called the 109 route now. The 109?
Something like that, yeah. But I think I saw, don't hold me to that. I think the Q41 comes back and the 109 goes away in this final version. But I'm not 100% sure in what capacity. I did like the Q41 was hampered by the fact that it used a lot of narrow streets in Richmond Hill, 127th Street, to be specific. 127th, 128th, really narrow streets, slows the bus down. And that was one of the reasons for that change, is the portion of the route that's on 127th Street. So we ran it down 109th Avenue from, well, I guess it was from Sutphin all the way to Rockaway Boulevard for some consistency. But from what I saw, again, I can't remember, but I don't hold me to it, but I think the Q41 came back, but however, still not on those narrow streets. So I forgot how the route is going now. You will all see it in a couple of weeks though, I think.
Couple of weeks, right. And one of the other things that people were asking, with the new technology that the buses have now, where the bus drivers are going to get those consoles like Nice Bus has.
Yeah, that's coming soon.
Will they be able to know if a transferring bus is coming, where they'll be able to wait for the transferring bus? You know how Nice does it?
Oh, no. I think in this case, it's only for you're like, say, I'm driving one bus and you're the bus in front of me. And there's another person, Carl is behind me. We're able to manage the distance between our three buses. That's kind of like what it's designed to do. I'm not sure when that's supposed to roll out, but it's called Transit Control Head device. And what that does, it helps the bus operators govern themselves and help to maintain even spacing between themselves and their followers and their leaders.
Right, because in your professional opinion, how we have printed schedules, one of the things that Nice Bus was testing out in Nassau County was they got rid of the schedules in the N6 and the N41, and they're testing it where they have controlled dispatch, where it's basically dispatched every 10 minutes. It's supposed to be like a bus. You think something like that could work with the bus redesigns and with transit?
I think there's opportunity for it. I mean, of course, our bus network is so massive across the city, but there are pockets of that where we can perhaps, we've talked about the idea of getting rid of time points, for example. All time points tend to do is slow down the bus, and you have more of a headway-based service as opposed to a schedule-based service. So that's what Nice has been doing with the N6 and the N40, 41. And I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else that ever, especially when
the N4 they do it with as well.
Yeah. So stuff like that. Yes, I think that there are pockets of opportunities. SBS, for example, SBS runs with very little to no time points. The 44 has a time point, of course, in Jamaica, in Flushing, and I think in Parkchester in the Bronx, and then the Bronx Zoo. It's only about 4 time points. That tends to be the biggest, one of the biggest causes of slowing down service is having too many time points on a schedule. Because what it does is it diverts the bus operator's attention to saying, okay, I have to meet this, I have to make this time. So I'm going to blow this light right here so that I can not be written up for being early. It's something that's kind of hampered bus operations for as long as I can remember. And yeah, something like active dispatching can address that. And this way we're not worried about time points.
Right. And one of the things we're trying to get passed in the state legislature now, and I know Alan's also been working on this, is we're trying to get a 3-leg transfer. Like if you pay $275 fare, you would be able to take 3 buses. Like if you travel overnight, or you have to take more than 3 buses or something like that, 2 buses.
Right. That one I really haven't heard too much about. I mean, we have pretty robust overnight service.
I'm talking about for the hospital workers in LIJ and stuff.
Correct. I was just going to bring this up. So as you well know, as you're well aware, we had a rather successful overnight pilots during the pandemic where we were focused on essential workers, hospital workers, food service workers, postal and delivery workers, those kind of, and having a robust overnight service that addresses that. There are some cities throughout the country that has a separate overnight network. Whether we could pull that off here or not, that remains to be seen. But I can say that those you recall it was what, the B99, the BX99.
I love those routes.
I thought they were fantastic. I thought it was great. I thought they addressed the need, and it does provide a case for something like that, perhaps in the future. Absolutely.
So do you see that, like the M55, that goes down Broadway? Do you see that going through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, maybe ending in South Brooklyn as like a limited or overnight night owl route?
Again, that's similar to the B9. No, the B99 went over the
Manhattan Bridge.
Right. But yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, something like that, I think, would serve a lot of folks well. You have Miami East Hospital in Borough Park, and or is it in Sunset Park?
Sunset Park.
Sunset Park. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, all of that stuff would help, and would help get folks to and from work during overnight hours. Like I said, that successful pilot that we ran during the pandemic speaks to the fact that something like that absolutely can happen.
And that they only did that after the cab expenses were getting too much, because I took the free cab.
Okay. The cabbies were reaming people. It was ridiculous. It wasn't right.
Yeah, people getting ripped off. They were charging like $120, and it still is. Some cabs are charging $100 to go from Manhattan all the way to Queens Village.
Right.
I don't know how they're getting away with that, so, but that's why we need bus equity. And this is where equity comes into. So did anyone have any questions for Mark, since we have him on here? Because I know somebody has a brilliant question that I haven't asked. I will try to read all your questions, but if somebody has a question, because we're also getting questions on Facebook. No questions? Anyone?
I think I have one of them.
Sure.
Like another thing is, so what's the difference between Queens Manhattan Express buses going from Queens to Manhattan? Like, for example, if I take the BM5 all the way to Queens, and the to Brooklyn.
I didn't hear all of her. I think she broke up. at some
Okay, I
part.
think I know what he's asking. You know how
Okay.
that route that goes down Queens Boulevard from Manhattan goes into Queens, and then it goes into Linden Boulevard over there in Starrett City,
Yeah,
Brooklyn?
you're talking about the BM5. It runs down Woodhaven Boulevard.
Right.
And then into Brooklyn on Linden and ends in Starrett City.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there,
That's what I
a very
said.
long route.
Yeah, we didn't hear, well, you broke up part of your question. That's why we didn't hear it. So what was your question though?
Another question?
No, well, I didn't hear that one about the BM5.
So about the BM5 all the way to a Woodhaven Boulevard, all the way to the Starless City.
Right.
So I have never taken any of the BM Brooklyn Manhattan Express buses before.
Right.
So I read the sign says BM5 drop up only, only, and then Midtown Manhattan, but no Sunday services around here.
Oh, I know what he's talking about now. I got you, James. I got you. So
okay.
What he's trying to bring up, and this is a good point, in the Brooklyn bus redesign, there is no more Saturday and Sunday service on some of those express bus routes. And that's been a big concern. But I don't want to put you in a, but I mean, it's just something we feel like there should be express bus service. At least they should continue it the way it was before, not curtail it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's a policy decision there. I can just say that there's never been any Sunday express service on those Spring Creek routes over there in Brooklyn. They've always been the depot almost shuts down on Sundays. They don't run any service there. But yeah, that's more of a policy decision. I really can't comment.
Right. So you know what I was thinking? Why don't they on weekends when they're doing track work and construction on the subways? And this is something I spoke to Jano. They should have a bus. Like they should rethink. They should have a weekend express bus grid, and they should have something at least to get you where you have to take a local bus, get on the express bus, something to bring you in the city. Right. You know, I feel like sometimes, there are things that they could do more efficiently with the buses. They figured it out. But I guess everything's also, financial constraints and money.
Exactly.
But this is why, guys, we have to, out of tonight's meeting, we have to talk to elected officials. This is what people don't understand. Elected officials have a lot of power. They provide the funding, they provide the money, and they can get the MTA to do things with the right political pressure.
Agreed.
That's what I said.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean,
that
Mark,
is a wonderful question, right?
Yes, it was a wonderful question, James. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
no problem,
that question.
Man. I asked 2 questions or 3 questions in one day, right?
Yes, you did, James. But we got you. I picked up on that. I got you real fast, James. So in the presence of time, yeah. So James, we got to keep it rolling. Is there any more questions from anyone that we didn't speak to? Alan, did he have a question? Did Carl have a question?
Another
David,
question from me?
Did you have a question?
I just wanted to tell Mark that I spoke to the MTA. Hi, Mark. I spoke to the. Let me get my picture up here. I spoke to the MTA at the after the board meeting, and the gentleman from Government Affairs told me that the Brooklyn and the Queens both redesign studies
we'll have more service, not less service.
Okay.
That's what.
That's good. That's good.
I hope he's telling you the truth.
No, listen, they have no reason to lie, but it's all about perception, though, as you know, Alan. While it might very well be more service, it's how is that perceived by the masses.
That's right.
So we shall see.
Because I asked them to provide the revenue bus miles and bus hours before and after, and he said they couldn't do that until the schedules are written.
Yeah, they're writing the schedules now, Alan. That is true.
So when the Queens comes out, will we see the before and after revenue bus miles and bus hours?
I'm not there, just like you're not there, but I would imagine that yes, you would, because I think they did that for the Bronx, Alan.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question. With routes that cover both boroughs, like Queens and Brooklyn, such as the Q8, like I've been proposing some recent changes, suggestions to the Brooklyn side of the Q8 route. Things like that. After the final Queens plan comes out, would they then later make changes on the Brooklyn end? Or once the Queens?
I know that obviously the Brooklyn and Queens teams have to work together. Since we're all friends here, I wasn't crazy about ending it at New Lot Station. I thought New Lot Station was pretty busy as it is with the B6 and the B84, as sparse as that service is. And then to throw in the Q8 on top of that, it's just going to be a lot of congestion over there as far as bus activity goes. But the two teams have been working closely together. I can tell you that right now, especially given the close nature of the two boroughs and the the routes there intertwining at the border. Again, like I said, I wasn't a fan of the New Lots terminal for the 8. I think we had an earlier iteration that had it going all the way to Brookdale Hospital. That might have been a little better, but I'm not sure where they landed on the final. All I know is the last I saw was New Lots was still the last stop on the 8.
Thank you.
Anytime. And Carl, listen, over the years too, you presented some really thought-provoking proposals, really appreciated it. I loved your letters and your emails with all of the maps redrawn. I thought they were fantastic. And yeah, we did use some of your ideas in the past. So I just wanted to personally thank you for that. Yeah, really, really great. And you helped out a lot.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
Paul was with us at Nice Bus when we went to see the command center. He saw it with me, and he liked it. So yeah, Paul, thank you. Paul's a great person. Alan too. We all have different opinions, and we're all geared towards the same outcome. We want better buses.
No, I think we all want the same things here, and yeah, no, totally agree.
And traffic signal priority. I know that's something that they did with the first Bronx bus, with that select bus in when the BX12 opened. I remember the first day they had the lights turning green. I don't know if you can comment, but what happened with that? Because I noticed they got rid of the blue lights and then they changed it where the lights couldn't turn green. You know, when the bus comes.
No, I thought we still, one had nothing to do with the other, by the way. The blue lights were just there to identify it as a select bus service. As it turned out that the flashing blue lights were illegal because those were reserved for emergency vehicles. So that's why they transitioned to the flashing destination signs. I have my opinions on that, but that's for another discussion on another day. From what I understand, though, the TSP is still a thing, supposed to be expanded. And no, we didn't get rid of, I should say they didn't get rid of TSP. I think it's still very much a part of bus priority.
And a lot of people are asking me, and this is something I remember growing up. You remember when they made Jamaica Avenue a one-way street back in the early 90s?
I hated that. Yeah, it was in the 90s. Yeah, that was that was very short-lived and for good reason. They tried the one-way pair between Jamaica and Archer. Did not go well.
And you don't see that ever happening again?
No.
Okay. Because I mean, a lot of businesses had complained to me that they were, because they were talking about doing that. I don't know if you're aware.
Is there a fear of doing that again, of that happening again?
Yeah, there's people talking about it. I said, oh,
They
no.
just made a busway. And by the way, the busways are very poorly enforced. So, I hope that some changes happens there, again, for bus priority.
Yeah, because Jamaica Avenue, the buses are still stuck in traffic. Same thing with Archer. It's a parking lot by in the evenings going back to.
It's tough. It really is. It really
and
is.
I feel bad because the drivers are like arguing with each other when they make a turn.
14th Street in Manhattan is a great example of that, and 181st Street as well. Just beautifully done up there. Unfortunately, can't say the same for the Queens effort.
And that
how is the Main Street busway? How is it up there?
Bay Street in Staten Island?
No, Main Street in Flushing.
Oh, Main Street in Flushing, it's a little better than it used to be, but I still feel like they need to enforce the restrictions with the parking on Casino, because Casino is where everything gets jammed up over there.
Right. Okay. I haven't been over there in quite some time, so. Yeah,
well, it's much better, I will say. The only thing people are complaining about is the long walk when you get off the 27. But I told them the problem, the 27 route has complications. Like it's always had complications because it goes into college, it makes a turn, and then the turn points is what chokes up the 27.
So it's a lot of choke points on the 27 for sure. And having it go all the way to Cambria Heights doesn't help.
But the overnight service on the 27 is good. It's crazy. I don't take the Q2 coming back anymore because they've been cutting runs on the Q2. I don't want this to be about us personal. I'm sorry, guys, but I will mention the Q2 they've been running only 4 or 5 buses.
Right.
And the rest of the runs are cut, and then they'll prioritize like the 27, the other routes, because that's their big service.
By the way, and those are points taken. Alan, I want to tell you that you and I don't see eye to eye on a few things, but I wholeheartedly agree with the fact we talk about interborough service, the need for a service from the Rockaways to Coney Island, and specifically Coney Island Hospital and Sheepshead Bay, is something that's just staring you right in the face. And unfortunately, again, they're governed by budget, and it's just an easy jog over the Marine Parkway Bridge. Either you jump on the belt if it's bus, which I believe it is because Spring Creek buses deadhead on that section of the belt. So I believe you can do it. Worst case scenario, you have to stay on Flatbush and come around Avenue U and back down Knapp Street. But that is absolutely something that it's a huge hole in the network. And that should have been closed with the Brooklyn or Queens redesigns. And,
Mark, I just want to say that with the reconstruction of the Belt Parkway, you can pretty much use the shoulder as a bus lane. There's only a few sections missing, I think, between Pennsylvania and Crossway Boulevard is missing, but the rest of it is pretty much the buses could use the shoulder as a bus lane.
Yeah, that's and they were building it to interstate specs, right, Alan?
It is built into state specs, and I never would have recommended a bus on the Belt Parkway without a bus lane because the Belt Parkway is jammed 80% of the time.
Right.
But from Knapp Street, I believe Knapp Street to Flatbush Avenue could all be done on the shoulder, and if not, I think this is about 400 feet would have to be resurfaced, which is like nothing.
Right. No, I 100% agree. I mean, it's ridiculous that we didn't do that.
Because I could look out my bedroom window and see Rockaway, and it's a 20-minute car trip and a 2-hour bus ride.
And I dare to suggest it's probably more than that on the bus. So yeah, it really is a shame. All right.
It's getting late, so we wanted to end it because it is getting a little late, and Mark's been very generous with his time. We just want to thank everyone for coming out. And I want to thank all of you, but especially I want to thank Jack for putting everything together. And Paul and Alan for getting the information out. I want to thank David. David, did you have anything in closing? Because David's been quiet. We haven't heard from him.
Oh, I've been quiet because basically this is just all a learning experience for me. Definitely.
And Mark, we want to thank you so much. And maybe, we're going to, this summer, we're going to be riding a lot of buses throughout Suffolk, because Suffolk's going through a redesign. Nassau County, however, will not be having a redesign. That's good news, because NICE already redesigned many
Well,
routes.
NICE already took a torch to most of the service anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. They cut a lot of bus service. NICE is horrible. We're trying to get the MT to come back. We spoke to some elected officials, and we're trying to get them to see if they can get state funding so that the county doesn't even have to run the service. But, it's money, it's budgets, and it is what it is. But
thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun. And like I said, great seeing some old faces, and look forward to doing this again sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely. We might have one towards the end of March or April.
Okay, awesome.
We'll do it on the weekend, so it works with your schedule as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is perfect.
All right. Thank you, Mark, so much. Let's all give Mark a big applause. Thank you so much. And
thanks.
when we look at the redesign, if there's any advice or anything, we'll reach out to you if we have any questions.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yep.
when the final plan is released, I'd be happy to come back on and let's chat about it.
Okay, great. We definitely would love to have you on. Yep, exactly.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, and have a good night on behalf of Passengers United.
Thank you very much, and thanks
Bye-bye.
everyone for joining us tonight, either on the Zoom call or the live stream.
Thank you, Mark.
Take care.
Take care. Anyone else have a question, guys, in closing? Alan, Maria, Paul, anyone else? No? Danny? All right, guys, I think we're out of here. All right, so have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Jack, for putting this together. And you can watch this on the rewind, right? The Passengers United.
Yes, you can. Everything's on the YouTube channel. We did live stream it, and once we turn it off, you should be able to watch it back.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. I know we were supposed to end at like 7, 8 o'clock. We went through 9. So again, on behalf of all of us at Passengers United, thank you so much for attending. Please share the YouTube stream out with your friends, and let's continue this dialogue about diversity and about having equity in transportation. So we need equity, we need diversity, and most of all, we need to make sure that transportation is accessible for everyone in our community. Thank you. Have a good night.
Charlton, do you have a way of reaching Mark?
No, I don't. I think I do. Wait, on Facebook Messenger or something.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll reach out to him. I'll send him an invite, and I'll consult with you guys. If y'all want to do this on a Saturday night, if this works for everyone, when the redesign plan comes out, we can do that. But I think first we'd have to read the entire plan, and then once we've read it and once we've dissected it, we could do it. I tried to get all the questions answered tonight as they came in. And how did I do, guys? Was it okay, or?
It was long but thorough.
No, I mean, Alan, well, did we answer every question that you guys wanted answered?
I think we did. I think it could have been a little more organized. We could have stuck to the agenda a little better. That's my only criticism.
Yeah, we didn't know, I'm glad Mark came on, and, this meeting was even more exciting because Mark came on. So there were some developments tonight that we learned. But when we see the plan, obviously, we'll know more. But I want to thank everyone tonight. And you're right on that. We could have done a better job. But you know how us Passengers United, we do it. Jack knows. At Passengers United, when we do meetings, it goes 4 hours, 5 hours. That's how we roll at Passengers United. We're crazy, right, Jack?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm crazy. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. Thank you for joining.
Good night.
And
All righty.
all right.
Have a great night. Thank you all for joining
Paul.
us.
Thank you, Alan, James, David, James, Maria T. Greco, Karina.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good night.
Hey. Have a great night.